Okay. All right. We're now live on TikTok. Hopefully we can get someone to come up in here. Hope you guys are doing well on this Friday afternoon. Um, but obviously, as the live says, God isn't real. Request to join if you disagree. If you have a strong case or evidence to suggest that a God potentially exists, feel free to come on up. Just looking for a guest request to have discussions with. And with that, we'll just kind of chill until we get some people in here. But yeah, make sure you guys are double tapping on that screen so we can get more viewers in here. Hopefully, we can um, have some combos. But yeah, just looking for any believers. And when I say God isn't real, I just mean an immaterial mind that created the universe with the omni property set. So if your God doesn't meet those qualifications, then I'm not talking about your God. But even if so, I would still like to have a combo about it. So yeah, guest requests are open, guys. So feel free to come on up. Hopefully, pretty soon we can get someone to come up. I created the world for me. Okay, I don't know if that we can investigate.
Hello, I created a book. I open it in the next 2 or 3 weeks. I created the word formula. The word formula means you are the room.
Wait, brother.
Yeah.
Let's slow down a bit. Do you disagree with the prompt? Hello?
Yeah, no.
You do
No and
disagree with
yeah.
the prompt.
Yeah and no.
Okay. So you do believe in do you believe in a God or
I
no?
believe I believe the universe is paradox. It's left and right, 0 and 1. So
Okay, but like,
the
does that?
only good answer
Do you
I
think a
can say
creator?
is 0 and 1. Yes and no. You understand?
So do you believe in a God? Do you believe in God? It's a yes or no question.
The thing is, I meet God, but he was.
Okay, so if you can't answer a yes or no question, then I'm just not going to be able to have a, a intelligible conversation with you. So, do I only want opposition? Yeah, preferably. Just because, like, I don't want to have us talk about. I mean, if we already agree, like, we can still chat, but like, I prefer to have opposition. So, but yeah, you're more than welcome to like stay in the chat though and like interact with the stream.
Hello?
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Yeah, how old are you?
11.
Okay, well, the live clearly says 18 plus, so if you're not 18 or older, don't request to join. Pretty self-explanatory. Kind of says it in the prompt. So, is math real? Depends on what you mean by real. Like, do numbers like if you're asking me if like numbers like one and two, like if they exist within reality, like can I go find a number one out in nature? I'm not a Platonist, so I would say no. But if you mean as though like this math, like as an abstract reality, um, like I'm agnostic to it because again, like that's just kind of Platonism. So I don't know. I think that numbers themselves, like they exist in like an abstract sense, but do they exist in an abstract reality per se? I'm not convinced. Um, yeah. Why don't I believe in a God? I don't believe in a God because I don't want to have any contradictions in my worldview, and God entails numerous contradictions. So following that, I just wouldn't want that in my worldview, right? So, uh, hey, how's it going?
So,
How old are you?
17.
No, you're not. Even if you lied about that, it still wasn't even enough. You have to be 18 or older. If you're not 18 or older, don't request to join.
Yo, what's good?
Hey, hey, how's
Sorry?
it going?
Oh, you're
I
lagging,
said,
sir.
yeah, I said, how's it going?
Oh,
Oh,
I'm
my
doing
bad, my
okay.
bad,
How
my
are
bad.
you?
Yeah,
No, you're good.
I'm great. Yeah. How
I
old are
heard you
you?
claim that I'm 18. Does God entail numerous contradictions?
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
How? Go ahead.
Yeah, so I think it's important that we clarify what I mean by God. So by God, I'm just referring to an immaterial mind that created the universe with the omni-property set, that being like, all-knowing, all-powerful, all good, all of that. So the reason why I would say that God, entails a contradiction is just because of the problem of evil, right? The fact that there exists unnecessary suffering is extremely unlikely under the hypothesis of an all-loving and all-powerful God.
Extremely
So
unlikely is not a
following.
contradiction, sir.
I
Sir,
mean,
contradictions.
I can break that down. No, I can break it down. So
No,
basically,
but
right?
sir, you understand that. Wait, so you're
I
making
know
an
what a
abductive
contradiction
face.
is.
No, I'm not.
Sure, right?
I
But
know.
it
I
is a
understand.
contradiction because
Yeah,
I'm
can I
getting to it if you
finish?
let me get to it.
Can
Well,
I
you said it
finish
wasn't a
though?
contradiction, but I didn't even finish. So
Okay, well, I
can
was
I
going to
get
show you
how
how
the
you
contradiction?
understand the distinction between deduction and
Sure,
induction.
yeah.
But
So
go ahead.
let's talk about it. I mean, I understand abduction. I mean, I'm not even really using this in like a premise-based argument, but sure, right? I can
No,
lay
it
it out in
doesn't matter.
premise form if you want. Sure, right? But
It
let's
doesn't
go
need
through
to
it,
be
right? So
syllogistic, bro.
sure, that's fine. The point is, right? Why is it the case that unnecessary suffering exists if we're supposed to believe that, an all-powerful and all-loving God exists? Can you explain unnecessary suffering in your worldview?
Well, sir, you said there's a contradiction. I don't need to explain anything. What's the contradiction?
Okay, fine, yeah. So, so assuming, right, that you grant me all of this, and let's say that you grant that unnecessary suffering exists, right? It's either the case following that because unnecessary evil exists, it's either the case that God doesn't know about this evil, in which he wouldn't be, or doesn't know about this unnecessary suffering, in which case he wouldn't be all-knowing, right? It's either the case that he doesn't have the power to stop the unnecessary evil and unnecessary suffering, in which case he wouldn't be all-powerful. And then the final one would be it's either the case that he knows about the or he doesn't, or actually not. Did I already cover the two options? Unknown. Yeah. So basically following that, right? Assuming that he either knew and didn't have the power to stop it, or knew but didn't stop it, it would be the case that God is both either all good but also not good, and either the case that he's all
I
powerful but
don't know what
also
all
not all
good means.
powerful.
What does
In
all
which
good mean?
case, it's an internal critique. So whatever you take good to be, that's what I'm going to
No, I'm not
assert in
asking
that
what good is.
definition.
I'm asking what the word all here
Oh my God, hold
denotes.
on. So you don't know what universalization is?
I'm asking you what is all good.
Universalization.
Universalization.
Again, it's an internal critique. So it's
Yeah,
whatever
I understand, sir.
definition
Sir,
of
I
good.
understand.
If you don't have a definition, then
No, I
can't help
do.
you.
But what does it mean for something to be all good?
Okay, so then we're just using your definition.
No, I don't predicate the phrase all good to God. So I need to know what you mean by all good here.
Again, this is your God, right? Again, I've already
Yeah, my
laid out
God, we
that.
don't have
Do you accept?
phraseology like that.
Well,
We
do you
don't. Yeah,
accept?
in Islam,
Do
we
you
don't use
accept?
all
Do
good.
you accept? Do you accept my definition of what God is? Being that which is all
Yes.
powerful, all knowing.
Yes.
Okay, so so it's the same thing. Whatever you take it to be the case that all good means is just what I'm referring
I
to.
don't know
So
what
it's-
all good means.
Well, then I guess I don't know either because it's
Okay,
an
so you
internal
don't. So you're
critique.
using words you don't know.
Well, again, you're just the only
You're a
Christian I've ever
potato.
met
What
that
does all
doesn't
good
know.
mean?
No, brother, you're the one that doesn't know what all good means, right? Every other
Okay, I'm
Christian,
not the one that used the
other
word, am I?
priest I've talked to,
You use
that's
the word.
agreed to the definition,
You use the word.
right? Again,
Who
if
used
you
the
don't know
word?
what all
Was it
good
me or
means,
you?
I can't. I don't know how else to get to it.
Okay,
right?
so look.
We
Basically,
both
I don't
agree.
know
We
what.
already
Hey,
agreed.
listen, let me
No,
speak.
We
What,
already
you're so
agreed
trash,
that
bro. Like this is so low tier.
I'm trash. Yeah.
Telling people
Yep.
is insane.
Yeah.
Like,
We
look,
love
listen.
the meta. We
All
love it.
good.
Need
You
more?
use the word all good. What does it mean?
All good is just whatever you take it to mean. It's an internal
What the fuck
critique.
does that? That doesn't tell me shit. You use the word. What does it mean?
If you don't know what internal critique is, I can't
Are you
help
stupid? You can't use a word and not know what it means. What does the word mean?
Brother, whatever you take all good to mean, that's whatever I
Sir,
again,
we
this
don't
is an
use
internal
phraseology like
critique.
that. Look at
It's
this
an
dumbass
internal
atheist. What does all
critique.
good mean?
Brother,
What does all good mean?
Do you need me to lay out what an internal critique is?
What? No, don't worry. I know what that is. Can you please tell me what that means?
I'm not sure you do, because again,
Yeah, I
if you
do.
did, you
Yes,
wouldn't
I
be
do.
asking these
Yes, I,
redundant
I
questions.
can define it for you.
Okay, so
Actually.
lay it out.
So,
Lay it out, please.
okay, an internal critique is going to follow as one that is delving into a paradigm that is essentially critiquing it or making an argument, we should say, in this case, and they're granting the presuppositions of this paradigm. So now, sir,
So
can
you
you
do
please
know.
tell me?
So then you're just being
Because-
dishonest. Okay.
No.
All
I
right.
never said I don't know what an internal. Sir, let me finish. I'm telling you, I do know what an internal critique is, but in my internality, in my paradigm, I don't know what that word. We don't use that word. We don't use that phraseology.
But you've
Henceforth-
already agreed.
Are you
already
fucking
agreed,
stupid?
right? When I
Can you tell me
laid
what
out
the
my
word means?
description of a God, brother.
Oh my God.
Again, let me finish my sentence, right? We've
Oh my
already
God.
laid out that God is an immaterial mind that created the universe with the omni-property set, that being all good, all powerful, all knowing, all of those omni-property set.
I didn't hear
God.
when you said all good.
So if you didn't
So-
agree to That's fine, but I do
Oh my
want to
God.
admit that you did agree to that. So
Okay,
if
are
you
you
want to
gonna
change
tell
your
me what
mind
all
now,
good
that's
means or
fine,
not?
but you did agree to it.
Are you gonna tell me what all good
It
means or not?
depends, right? Let's go
Are you gonna
back to
tell
the
me what it means
beginning,
or
right?
not?
So again, do you agree? Again, we can't even get there. If, I mean, the whole conversation is about God, but if we don't even agree what God means,
Just tell
we
me what
can't
all
have a
good means.
conversation, right? So let's go back to the beginning. Let's go back to the beginning and define what God is. Again, I take God to be an immaterial mind that created the universe with the omni property set. That which of being like all knowing, all powerful, all good, all of that is included in
Okay,
the
what
omni
is all
property
good?
set. Do you agree with that definition?
It, it depends. What is all good?
All good. So again, all good is just going to be relative to whatever. I mean, again, all just means like all encompassing, like the universalization, meaning that like they probably prioritize the maximum good, right?
What is
They
good?
do the utmost good. What is
Okay,
good?
so they do the okay, good.
Um,
So they do what is best constantly, right?
sure.
Okay.
I mean, again,
Yes,
this is
I
if you
believe
have a
that
different
God,
definition,
yeah.
that's fine. But
Yes,
again,
I
it's just
believe
an
that
internal
God is
critique.
all
So
good.
we're not looking at my definition of good.
No, I agree with that. If God all good denotes that God he constantly does what is best, then I would say yeah.
Okay, so we agree. Perfect. All right. So now again, following this, right? Now that we've kind of clarified this barrier between all good and all that, right? Again, under the hypothesis in which a God that, as you described, is all good, or I guess you could also argue omnibenevolence or whatever, interchangeably, I suppose. We would
Mm-hmm.
expect that under this hypothesis, there wouldn't be unnecessary suffering, but it is the case that unnecessary suffering exists. So therefore, again, following this line of logic, it's either the case that God knows about this unnecessary suffering and does nothing about it, which would be
Mm-hmm.
considered, not all good because he's not maximizing or taking the most good of any action, right? Or it's the case he doesn't know about this unnecessary evil, in which case he's not all knowing because in order to be all knowing, you have to know everything. But if you don't know this, that means or if you don't know this particular thing, then it's the case that you can't be all
Okay, I
knowing.
reject that. Stop rambling. You already know I reject that. So, anyways,
I know.
yeah, I
Okay,
believe.
let's go through. Yeah. So
Can I
where's
finish? Am I
where's the
gonna finish or
rejection?
what? Am I gonna
Go
talk?
ahead.
Thanks. Just limit yourself from interrupting. So yeah, I believe that God he is aware of the suffering and that he doesn't necessarily essentially we wouldn't say that God always acts as soon as the suffering happens, right? Because God can do either one or two, because God is all just. Remember, you are giving the internal critique, so you have to accept the presupposition of my
No, so that's
paradigm.
the problem. So
So
again,
am
we're
I
not
am I
just
am I
talking
gonna
about.
finish, man, or am
Well,
I
I'm
gonna drop? Am
clarifying.
I
I'm
gonna finish? Or am I
clarifying.
gonna drop?
I'm clarifying. You can run away if you like, but I'm
I'm not
clarifying.
running away. I'm just tired of getting interrupted.
Sure, right?
So
But I'm
yeah,
clarifying.
so that's a yeah,
Clarification,
can
right?
I please finish?
Well, I don't want you to finish because what you're finishing, like what you're talking about, is not like it's not my point. I'm trying to clarify.
Yes, it
We're
is.
not
I
just
know what
talking
your
about.
point is.
Okay, so
I
what's my
literally
point
know
then?
the trilemma. I know the trilemma. Don't worry.
What's the point? What's the point I was bringing
Okay,
up?
your point is you gave me three options. God either he knows that there is evil, but he can't do anything about it,
It's
or
not
that God,
just
or
evil;
that
it's unnecessary
are you
evil. I'm not.
that's
I'm not
oh
talking
that's this
about
it.
evil.
Okay, okay, unnecessarily evil, no problem. The second part of the
Okay.
trilemma is that God doesn't know, so therefore he can't really do anything if he doesn't know. The third one is he knows and he can do something about it, but he's not doing anything about it. You dumbass! You know what you're talking about. That's the point. You dumbass.
Oh,
So let me actually
you love
respond.
it.
Let me respond.
Yeah, that
Let me
totally makes your
respond.
argument stronger.
I'm not providing an argument. I'm actually giving a rebuttal.
I mean,
Anyways,
okay, sure,
yeah,
whatever.
okay. So yeah, I accept the third one, and that is that God he is powerful enough to remove all evil, and he knows of all evil, whether you want to be necessary, unnecessary. I believe all things are unnecessary, but God. So if we're gonna say that, okay, we have this act, right? There's a human that's that there's a little kid that's going through cancer, stage 4, and he dies. He's about 2 years old. Okay, so God actually does do something about that, and that evil is actually good for him, right? In the sense that he's gonna enter paradise after he dies for going through this act. So I actually I reject that God doesn't do everything or doesn't do anything about it. I believe that God does do something about it. He either does it directly or indirectly. Okay, that is what I mean. So yeah, I don't really see the contradiction. It's going to be more of an inductive case. Henceforth, it doesn't actually lead to a contradiction. It's just going to be most likely a contradiction, but it's not a contradiction because God does do something about it, but He doesn't have to do it directly.
So again, in that example that you provided with the child with cancer, right? There is an innate purpose to that suffering. So therefore, categorically, would it be unnecessary because that suffering led like you described, that suffering that the child went through, as you described, led that child to heaven, right? Because God knew that this child was going to suffer, but in return for its suffering, it was going to be rewarded, eternally in heaven. In which case, that suffering had a greater purpose. But in the case, right,
Yep.
an example, right, of unnecessary suffering, would be the case of a lion and a zebra, right? A zebra, right, is brutally unalived by a lion, right? And as it's being unalived, it
Well, no, God
feels
gives
all of its
justice to that
organs
too.
being. Okay, so where's the justice being given to that in that particular zebra that's getting, basically eaten alive by a zombie, or not a zombie, a lion?
Yeah, in my
Where
paradigm, actually, the zebra will be able to take revenge on the Day of Judgment.
wait, what? Take
Yep.
revenge? How the fuck is the zebra gonna take revenge? What?
It'll,
Could you
it doesn't.
elaborate?
We don't know the modality of how, but it will, because God allows justice for all. He's all just.
So, okay, but
Baked. There you go.
wait, no,
Baked.
no, 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 no. This is ridiculous. So let's go through this,
You
right?
be
So you
ridiculous.
said
I'm
the
baking you.
zebra. Bro, you're gonna keep interrupting me?
Baking you.
Exactly, right? Anyway, the point is, first of all, why would the zebra punish the lion, right? If the lion is only doing what God programmed it to do, that makes no sense. That's a circular thing, right? Because
Programmed it to do. What do
God,
we don't? What do you mean?
I mean, did God not create nature?
Yeah, he did, but God didn't
Okay, so
necessarily
then the nature
program it.
that the
That's gonna.
lion follows, the nature that the lion follows is that, okay, it's a carnivore, right? It needs to eat other animals to survive, right? So it's only
Hmm.
doing what's necessary to exist. But why would it be punished for that? Because that's literally the system God set up. When he created
Yeah,
nature, he
yeah. I'll tell
knew
you.
that. Okay, so yeah, go ahead.
So essentially the lion itself. So it's gonna be like a plausible effect, right? The lion didn't do anything wrong necessarily, and the zebra didn't do necessarily anything wrong either. But the zebra, on its behalf, God is gonna let it basically think that there is gonna be like this lion that ate it or this lion that killed it, and the zebra is gonna be able to take revenge. But that lion didn't do anything wrong, so therefore it's just gonna be a created effect of the lion. It's not gonna be an actual lion, the one that actually did that. So yeah, it actually is justice.
That makes okay. Again, let's clarify, right? So how do you even actually know that this lion, or not this lion, that the zebra is going to take justice? Where is this talked about in scripture? Because I've never heard any rebuttal like this,
That's
that
in the
a
hadith and
fucking
from the pious
zebra is.
creative.
Oh, you're okay. You're Muslim. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, sorry. I thought you were a Christian. My bad. That's on me. Um,
Okay.
but even still, like that's just that's just ridiculous, right? Because how is it the case that this lion is going to face, or is it the case that the lion's going to face punishment or not? Because the way you
No,
described it, it sounded like
no,
the zebra. Okay, so then again, it's the zebra still suffered unnecessarily then, because there's no
no,
reason
it's
for it to
not. No,
take.
it's not.
It is
No,
suffering unnecessarily because
it's
again,
gonna seek
what's the
revenge.
greater purpose to that?
It's gonna
Because it's
seek
not
revenge.
going to heaven, right? You don't
The
hold
greater
the animal to
purpose,
go to
okay,
heaven.
the greater purpose for it being eaten is so the lion stays alive, and also the zebra is gonna seek revenge. I already told you.
So what do you mean by revenge, right? Let's clarify, right? Because
What
some
do you not know
people, I
what
mean,
revenge means?
I do, but I want to get your definition of it.
Are you serious? I think revenge is very universal. It's when someone does an act against you and you return that, and specifically referring to evil things, right? So yeah, so considerably, like the zebra, he thinks that he didn't do anything wrong and he's being killed for no reason. Henceforth, or moreover, the zebra on the Day of Judgment, it will be able to seek revenge to a created effect of a lion. It's not going to be the same lion because I'll be
To the
unjust to the
created
lion.
effect. So could you
Yeah,
elaborate more on the
hey, am I
created
gonna
effect?
finish? Am I gonna finish?
I'm asking, I'm
Am I gonna interrupt?
clarifying. Sorry,
Okay, can you
jeez, what?
clarify after I'm done, bro?
Well, no, that's the point of a clarification is to make sure that you don't talk about something that I like.
I'm
I
not.
have no like.
Don't worry.
It has
That's
no
not.
correlation to what it was
It's
I
a
was bringing
created
up.
effect. It's a created effect. Yes, because the lion didn't do anything wrong per se. So it's not going to be the actual lion that did that because the lion didn't do anything wrong. He's just doing what he was quote unquote programmed to do, like you said. So therefore, the zebra is still going to have that innate feeling that it got revenge on that lion. So that, but both entities are happy.
This okay, yeah, I'm sorry. This is kind of crazy. I've never heard, and as
I don't
mind you, I
know
don't really talk to a
because
lot
the
of
problem
Muslims,
with evil is
but
dog shit.
you said
Shit.
what?
The problem with evil is dog shit. That's what I said.
No, it's not dog shit.
It's
It's
shit.
pretty much the defeater to at least the general conceptions of
Nope.
theism.
Nope.
It is. It most definitely
It's
is.
dog shit. You need to use
Um,
like better arguments.
no. What arguments do you, I mean, what, you're a Muslim, right? So I'm assuming you're probably either running some variation of the contingency argument or the cosmological argument, both in which case are also equally, or not even equally dog shit. They're just even
I
more
don't use
dog
that.
shit.
Sorry. I don't even
What
use them.
argument do you use?
I use the MOA.
Oh, is that modological one?
No, not modological. Modal ontological, sir. You don't know what you're talking about.
Ontological. Okay. Well, that's why I
Yeah.
clarified. I didn't assert that was.
And
That's why I
I know you
asked the
don't know what that
question.
is.
But
Do you know
okay,
what that is?
I do know what the modological argument
Okay, what
is.
is the S5
That's why,
axiom?
brother. I'm not actually running the argument. So why would I give you
No, I
the?
know, but just let's see if you know. What is the S5 axiom?
I don't know the X by axiom,
Okay, so
but
you're fucking
I
retarded. So you
know
don't
the
know. So you
argument,
don't know the argument because the argument is built off of that, dumbass.
brother. Okay, let's run the argument then.
Okay,
Let's run it.
premise one, there exists. Okay, so now you got baked on that. Let's prove God exists. So
No one got
premise
baked
one,
on anything.
you
Oh,
got
my
baked. You
bad.
got
I didn't know
baked.
I didn't know
You
what
got
the
baked.
I didn't know whatever that was, right?
You got
The
baked on
point
the
is,
problem of evil.
it doesn't
It's
just
okay. You
because I
don't
don't
know.
know a
You
particular
don't.
fact. No, no one got baked on the problem of evil,
You
right?
got destroyed. You're
Your
like, oh,
worldview
this is so
is
crazy. I've
absurd.
never
What are
heard
you
this
talking
response
about?
before. I've never heard this response before ever. Like, it's okay,
Brother,
bro. It's
I don't
okay.
know what
We
you
all
think
have
like
those
doing
epiphanies, you know.
commentary after the fact is gonna do for
We
you,
all have those
right? But it's not
epiphanies,
gonna
man.
make
It's okay.
the argument. The argument is
So
shit. You
let's
did
talk
not
about the
win the
modal
argument.
ontological argument.
You
Yeah,
just
let's prove that
boldly
God
asserted.
exists. Let's prove that God exists.
Are you done ad homing? We actually have like an
There's
actual
no there.
intellectually honest
Which ad
conversation.
hominem have I committed? Which informal ad hominem?
You literally said I was retarded, right? That's literally the definition
That's
of
not
ad
an ad
hominem.
hominem. That's just ridicule because an ad hominem states
What? That's
specifically.
not an ad hom?
Yeah.
Calling someone else
No,
out of their name is not an ad hom?
that's
Oh
not.
my
That's not
god, what do you know about
necessarily.
philosophy, bro?
Not necessarily. I can teach you philosophy. I can sit you down. So actually, it's not an ad
I don't think
hominem.
I want to learn your
Yeah,
variation
yeah.
of
An ad
philosophy, right?
hominem
If your
is only.
philosophy,
It's only. Hey, listen. Let me teach you something.
no.
Just because you insult someone, it doesn't make an ad hominem. That's why there's a distinction
That's
between the
literally
rhetorical.
categorically what an ad hom is. It's
That's
attacking
wrong.
the
No,
person's
that's wrong.
character rather than
Listen,
attacking the
listen.
argument.
Okay,
No,
can I
you're
tell you
wrong,
how?
right?
Relax.
Any philosopher,
Yeah,
name me one
that's
philosopher
not
that
true. You're
defines
so fucking
ad hom
retarded.
as
You're
anything
so
either.
dense. Like you don't know
No.
shitty. Oh my gosh. Like,
Okay, yeah, I'm
dude,
not gonna
what's the
lie, bro.
distinction between
Like, I'm
rhetorical?
not
Wait, what's
dropping slurs is just like crazy, right? I'm not gonna deal with that on my platform. But most loving Muslim, by the way, mind you. It's fine though. I don't want to get banned, so hey, how's it going? Hello? Hello? Going once, going twice.
Oh wait. Oh, so wait. What? How?
Brother, that's a child, bro. What the hell? Oh, hell no. If you're not 18 or older, don't request to join. Because I'm just not gonna have a convo with you. Because I will get banned. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Well, I mean, it kind of says 18 plus, like in bold letters. Like I don't know how to make that more clear, but sure. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. It's my brother. Sorry, you're good. Just yeah, just try to. And I just got a violation warning, bro. Oh my God. Yep, that's why I should have dropped him sooner. As soon as he said the R word, I should have just been like, nope, it's okay. Bro, like, what are you even talking about? The monological argument has been refuted, like I can't even count how many times, right? Like, there's just no way we're still running the fucking like a variation of the ontological argument in the Big 25, right? And the crazy thing about that argument is it doesn't even get you to the God of Islam. It just gets you to generic theism, in which case you still have a long way to get to any variation of religion, right? So, all right, bro. Yeah, matters the young here on purpose. Okay, whatever the hell that means. Cornballs. Yeah, I knew one day I would run into like a TikTok field, bro, but I didn't think that day would be today. But it's fine. It's fine. If you exist only in the mind and a greater being on that exists in reality can be imagined, I disagree. So slow. I love boosting my ego by intellectually flaming atheists. Okay. I mean, I don't know what you want me to do with that information, but I mean, if dropping like slurs is your way of feeling good about yourself, I guess that's all you, bro. But like, I don't know. Like personally, um, oh yeah, that is. Yeah, I mean, the ontological argument, it just basically says, well, if it's possible God exists, then therefore he must exist. Like it's probably one of the slowest arguments I've ever like it's so funny, bro, because it's like they did like the jump, and at least from if I'm remembering the premises right, like it goes from like saying something like simple like it talks about like actuality and potency, but then it gets from I don't even remember the premises, but it makes a crazy jump, and it's just like, all right, like you had me in the first premise, but second and third, like, nah, we're jumping way too many freaking layers. Mosering, if you're gonna stay in here, you might as well like it up, right? Like if you want to stalk me, right? Yeah, I have no problem with that, but I would appreciate if while you're doing that, like you like up the stream, helps boost the revenue and stuff like that. So yeah. Don't. Bum, bum. That's interesting though. Bro said a zebra is gonna punish the lion, but it's not actually punishing the lion. So that's just wait, that's just a direct contradiction. So it's both punishing but also not punishing the lion. I didn't even think about that till just now. That's crazy. Yeah, that's hilarious, bro. But apparently I got stomped on the problem review, but you literally gave me a P and not P. But okay, yeah, love it. So your faith is a faith of competitive what? Instead of cooperation? I have no idea what that means. But yeah, as the live says, God isn't real. Request to join if you disagree. If you have an argument or proof that God exists, and you want to present it, feel free to. I just ask that you be 18 or older for TikTok TOS purposes. So, you compete instead of get. I okay. I'm not really tracking that, but sure. I don't know. But yeah, guys, make sure you guys are liking up the stream. We'll try to get to like 50 likes. That'd be clutch. Mm, done. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Am I free to come up anyway to join the squad? Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure, bro. You missed it. We just had this like just slur dropping Muslim just like completely just get dog walked over the problem of evil. Yeah, it's funny, but
Oh, I absolutely love debating Muslims, man. Really, really love it so much.
yeah, it's an interesting conundrum.
It's fucking awful.
Hey, hey, Dr. Ryder, how's it going?
Going all right. How you doing?
I'm doing A-okay. I'm assuming you're 18 or older.
Yeah, I'm 37.
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah, so do you disagree with the prompt?
Um, well, I'm going to say, well, I do disagree, but my point of angle
Okay.
is going to be a little bit different than what you might be used to. So, but with that
Okay.
said, I was listening to last conversations that you've had, like at least two of them. But
Hmm.
I'm just going to start off with this. I'm going to say this: the definitions of omnipotent, omnipresent, all good. Those are just
Hmm.
labels, you know, centuries later that have been added upon it. The so-called Trinitarian, 300, 400 years added later. So all these definitions. I mean, we can read, the Bible as literature or how we view it, but to say, you know, omnipotent, all powerful, all this, these are just terms labeled. So when I say those, I'm going to use those variables as non-definitives. Those are subjective theories or tags that are labeled on there. So I'm not going to view those as factual. So it's like a math problem. Someone's going to say, A, B, and C is this, and this variable. So if you hold on to those as the pre-premise, then of course an argument can fall apart if you hold to those. You know what I'm saying?
Sure, right. But I mean, I mean, I don't know. I feel like describing God in that way, I mean, that's just how they kind of comprehend God, right? Because typically God is described as like this being that's beyond our human understanding. And so when they attach these labels like all powerful, all good, all knowing, right? That's the only way, like that it's the only way to characterize or at least capture even a little bit of what God is and like his entire existence. And like again, like I don't, it depends on the particular theology, right? Because some Christians or some Muslims might have different conceptions of what God is, and might have different conceptions on the omniproperty stuff. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I just kind of just stick to like a more general one, just because it's more all encompassing. So
Exactly. And look, I don't disagree with you there because unfortunately, the mass majority of so-called Christians claim, but majority do not know the Bible whatsoever, right? And when I say the majority, I mean really the majority. There's a small fraction who like digging deep, but at the totality and the majority of them are just, it's just a claim. It's not in practice. So I mean, and here I'm not here to bash, but I mean but I'm here as an observationalist to say this is what I've observed, right? Or many people do observe, but and I understand because most people understand God to be that way, right? Or as you stated, so it's a blanket, big paintbrush. But the only reason why I'm bringing that up because with those conditions, of course, the argument can fall apart if those are definitive. And I say if they're definitive, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
That's all. I mean, that's my point there.
yeah, you're good. Yeah.
I'll
Okay.
say this. It's going to sound really strange.
Mhm.
And there's so many debates, free will, I don't believe there's absolute free will. I think there's relative free will, right? And then there's so many things that I'm hearing here against for and God, the argument of this theism and non-theism and what have you. But I'll just mention this.
Mhm.
It's going to sound strange, but I'll mention it. And it's talking about necessary evil, not necessary evil. Can they coexist? Basically, I'm going to say this. Since the beginning, and I'm going to quote it as literature for you, not to offend you. So let's just say the Bible, right, as literature. Since the beginning, basically, since the fall, let's just call it the fall, basically everything, utopia was removed away from the table, right? It was just pulled away. You're going to have this, you're going to be cursed, you're going to be this, whatever, right? And we're going to say, well, then God failed, right? But my point is, basically, bad things are going to happen. And they're meant to happen. We got the four horsemen. We got so many things. If the Bible's true, or even if we quote as literature, there's going to be bowls of wrath. There's just going to be stuff, bad stuff, and it's going to continue. It's going to be so. Yeah, I mean, things are going to happen. There's no all good, right? Because bad's going to happen. How can it be all good when literally it states, stuff's coming, the sword's coming, earthquakes coming, stuff's happening, hell's coming down. I mean, sulfur. I mean, this stuff's going on. My point in saying is, how can you rationalize this altogether? My point is, does the Bible state that bad's going to occur to mankind? It's even going to say mankind's going to dominate man to his own injury. But I say all this because to sit there and think about it in a different manner is possible. I'm not saying here, I'm not here to, I can't persuade you in one phone call or even there. You're just going to hear my point of view. That's basically it, really. That's my start of this
Okay.
argument, our statement. But go ahead.
I mean, no, I mean, I'm just listening, but like, do you have like any like direct arguments, or are you just kind of?
Well, I mean, think about it this way. The direct arguments that we can have is evil necessary? Well, I'm not going to use it in such, I'm going to phrase it, evil's going to be permitted to exist. And it's going to keep happening. It's going to accelerate until it's not, if the Bible's true. Okay, so to say that evil can't exist, pertaining within its own definition, is to not understand it, because it literally says evil's gonna definitely be here. So I mean, with that stated, that's not necessarily an argument. It's a claim as to if you want to view the Bible as literature or not. But you could read Harry Potter and you can tell me on chapter 5:8 he did take a sword or he did take his glasses and broke them. I mean, if that's what the book said, he broke his glasses. I mean, that's just what it says. We don't have to believe it, but I can quote the script. I can quote the passage.
Well, yeah, I mean, my problem isn't necessarily with like evil existing, right? I think that, I'm convinced that like you would probably would need like like some option of evil, right? To have like the maximum good. But my problem comes in when it's unnecessary evil or specifically unnecessary suffering, right?
Yes.
Because categorically that's just going to be suffering or evil that didn't need to exist or doesn't have any purpose, but yet it still exists. And the fact that these things exist to me is evidence that a God, at least an all good God, an all powerful God doesn't exist, because we would expect that there wouldn't be any singular cases of unnecessary evil or unnecessary suffering, but it is the case that there are cases of unnecessary suffering and unnecessary evil. So in that point, like I just feel like that kind of encapsulates why I just like think that it's just not possible that that God exists.
Understood. And the criteria that God with those criteria can't exist because the variable stack
Yeah.
of your logic. Understood. I'll give you a premise here. This is just a thought experiment.
Mhm.
All right. So if the fall happened and he basically condemned Adam and Eve, right? I'm quoting this as literature for you, right?
Yeah, sure.
If the fall of man happened and he says, hey, he's going to dominate you, you're going to sweat from the brow, you're going to go through you're going to be cursed, you're going to be dominant. I mean, just stuff, really, right?
Mhm.
So at this point, we can see that things are not going to be well, all right? There was possibly in literature that there could have been a utopia, but that's been removed, right? That's all we can we can extract the probability of that. That's all I'm saying, okay? And I'm not saying this to you. I'm talking to you as an atheist agnostic, and I'm quoting
Yeah.
as literature because I don't want to offend you. But when upon saying this to you is this, well then, if evil's going to be permitted and stuff's going to get very hard, basically the obligation, at least according to it, is basically choose a side. We have our free will to say, hey, you know what? I do want to believe or I don't want to believe. And I'm not here to tell you you're bad. Who am I? I can't judge anybody, right? I'm just saying that decision is there if it is true or bad. But the bottom line is these harsh conditions are basically going to be here until they're not. But is there evil? There's lots of it, right? And there's conditions that are horrible, right? You know, we can go over them all. And this is getting even worse, right? Even in so-called Christianity, crusades, we can talk about some craziness, right? All that craziness. But I'll stop talking, but I only bring this out in this manner that, you know, when someone says, if evil exists, God cannot exist. Actually, evil exists to help us make a choice. Either you're going to tap out or you don't believe it, so you don't have to tap out. But some people are going to be, you know what? I don't agree with this. Something's wrong with the system. I'm going to take the blue pill rather than the Matrix. I plan to take a certain pill, right? Boom.
Yeah, I would agree, Ray. I don't think that the fact that evil exists is necessarily, I think that it is kind of like you can definitely question it, right? Like, why would evil exist, right? But I think there are arguments where you could have evil exist in a world and still have a God, right? But again, my point of contention is just going to be unnecessary evil or evils that didn't have to happen or evils that didn't have to be, because again, like it just doesn't make sense.
I'll just say this, and this is, I don't want to like get all weird on you or anything, but
Yeah.
there's a couple of things in the Bible. It says, it says he's been cast to the earth, woe for the earth and for the sea, because he's really pissed and he's trapped. So 1/3 of the angels, it says the stars are trapped here. In theory, that's what the chapter something says out of the Harry Potter book. Whether if it's true or not, that's what it says. It says he's close in this vicinity and he's really pissed and he's going to definitely influence. So stuff's not going to happen good. Both and things are going to be allowed to permit. It's like a boiling point. My point is, that's what that chapter says of Harry Potter, right? I'm not offending you. Now,
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be true, but if it says that, stuff's not going to be good. I mean, it's not all about peaches and cream and mercy. And I mean, hey, that's what's supposed to be. A Christian's supposed to be a martyr. These Southern Christians in the Southern states. I'm a Rambo. I'm a warrior for Christ. There was no warriors for Christ in the first century. There were martyrs. They didn't carry weapons. For 100 years, the first century Christians didn't engage in any warfare. They didn't even join the Roman army until it was corrupted. Then 100 to 200 years, then the Christians started joining military force, but they were not in warfare at all. So notice that I'm criticizing so-called Christians, and I'm going back and forth here. But my point is, a lot of people are turned off. I don't blame a lot of atheists and agnostics. They see a lot of crap. They see a lot of BS, right? and they're just
Oh.
turned off. They don't even see the logic anymore. They're like, I'm out. I mean, am I right or wrong? I mean, am I close?
I mean, I think for me, like I just want to believe in as many true things as possible, right? So the fact that like, there might be these evils or there are these religious people who make the faith look bad. I think all of that's irrelevant. I think what actually matters is
Mhm.
what's true. And so for
Yeah.
me, right, I don't believe that God existing is a true proposition, right?
Yeah.
But it could be the case that it is true. I just haven't been convinced of its truthfulness yet. So I think that it is possible, right, to prove God's existence. It just hasn't been done yet. And that's kind of why I do these lives in the first place. It's just to try to find that argument or find that evidence that proves that the proposition that God exists is true.
Well,
Because as of
understood.
now, yeah, I just don't think it's true. So
I know. See, and I respect that. See, look at there's a difference between. Look at there's some people who are what they call anti-theists. They're just going to
yeah.
fight it no matter what. And then usually they
Mhm.
have a dark side that goes into. I'm not going to talk about it, but like the dark arts and stuff. But my point is, then there's atheists and true agnostics. They're on the fence. They're just I can't be proven. There's a lack of physical proof, therefore I can't. And that's more of a reasonable person because, hey, physically, it can't be proven. All right. So therefore, this is my own conclusion. And again, I'm not judging anyone, but that's the cool thing about relative free will, right? Not absolute free will, but because we get to decide for ourselves, right? I'm not here, and it's embarrassing because I've only been on TikTok for 3 months now. I've heard some so-called, whatever it is, Muslim Christians just like, they'll say go to hell and some craziness, and I'm like, that's like
Yeah.
completely uncalled for and unnecessary, whatever. But I mean, with that said, at least you got to. I told you my conversation may be a little different. I don't know if it was, but
Yeah.
there you go, sir.
Yeah, no problem. No. Got anything else?
That's pretty much. Again, I'll say this. Look,
Mhm.
we can talk about the beginning of the origins of the universe. People say time, space, and God living out space. Things we'll never know. We can theorize, right?
Yeah.
We don't know how matter came to be. We just know that it is. It's like, like, well, how did matter come to be? It's an anomaly, and I believe there's many anomalies, right? I think there's so many anomalies, and this is why I always talk to someone who's very like science based or very physical based. There is anomalies that can't be explained, and I'm not necessarily invoking paranormal or miracles or anything like that, dude. That's not my point. But there's anomalies that just break the rules as to what we perceive to be, and whether it's quantum physics, superpositioning, tunneling, just instantaneous transmission of things like this, things that we didn't know before, but let us know that there's things that are out there. I'm not even going to go into craziness. Look at the governments have spent billions and billions of dollars, U.S., Europe, and Russia on what they call remote viewing. Okay, it was inconclusive at the end, but they're not even going to tell us. But they know that there's documentations on this craziness. I don't know if you ever researched anything. Now, I'm not saying that to go into that or that's something to look into, but my point is there's some strange things that are just beyond what we
Oh, you're muted, by the way.
Sorry about that. A phone call just came in. But
You're good.
all I'm saying is there's some interesting things that happen that we're discovering and we just don't know, is my point. I'm just going to leave this at your feet.
Okay.
We don't know, and that's why I'm never going to judge someone who's atheist or agnostic. They've come through. They have the right to believe in that because that's their free choice, right? And so I
Sure.
respect that. And and so with mine. But when some people are rude and they come up and just go on crazy, then that's
Yeah.
another. That's something altogether different. But anyway, that's pretty much it, dude. Really.
Yeah, that's right. I think Squatch had a question for you, but I'm pretty much good if you are. So
Yeah. Okay.
I was just looking for kind of an answer from a believer because a lot of people that I talk to on here are not as open or amenable to the fallibilistic nature of belief that you seem to be. But it raises the big point for me. The whole reason that I'm kind of engaged in these discussions is because the big question for me is about whether or not we should legislate based on beliefs that are solely limited to faith.
Understood.
Should we only legislate things that we can be demonstrably proven?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. Understood. And see, this is the consensus even in science. Like right now, you think and I think, and 95% of the population think light is the fastest, you know, element. It's not. Quantum entanglement now superseded that years ago, but the mass majority don't know this. There's many things that are perceived as truth but are not, right? So we can make these claims, we can, and science usually self-correct over time, but even what you're saying here, what we do know, what we don't know, I'll say this, there's a lot of infallibility. I would never, and I know you use the word legislation, and I know you didn't mean it in this sense, but it should never be in government. I mean, religion at the beginning was never, and should, at least at that first century, was never involved in government. And so it shouldn't, and that's my opinion. I know I kind of went a sidestep here stating that because, look, for those who are neutral, they may not appreciate that, and they don't need to be subjected to something they don't agree with. You know what I mean? But I know I kind of went off on a little bit of a tangent there, but I'll stop. Go ahead.
Squash, do you have anything else?
Yeah, that was the gist of the question. Yeah, I'm kind of curious about that. I think that's the right position as well.
Oh,
I think there's a
definitely.
little more nuance to it than that. But I appreciate hearing the theist say that, or I guess I assume you're atheist.
You know, the sad thing right now, which is really, you know, and look, I don't want to talk politics, guys, and get people upset, but this so-called Christian national movement and stuff, and just seeing what we're seeing, and look at if the Bible is true and these people are endorsing certain things and it's completely contrary to what they believe the Bible to say, and I'm not for or against Trump, don't get me wrong, but there's so much contradiction. So I see people looking at it and go, what hypocrites, or this or that. So there's just these anomalies that are going to keep happening. So if I talk or engage with an atheistic or agnostic, I understand. I'm a little more sympathetic because, of course, you'd be like, there's no way. This is crazy, right? I mean, so anyway, I'll leave it at that. But again, even though I'm not necessarily talking bad about those who engage in Christianity and this and that, it's just that if you see something that's off and it's wrong, it can be easy to call it out, and a lot of people are turned off by it. And unfortunately, I believe there's some good, right? That's my belief. And again, see, that's a claim, right? I'm applying critical thinking here. That is my claim, right? I definitively can't prove it to you, or definitively can't prove God to you, but that is my belief, just like yours, right? Here's the crazy thing. Just like in engineering, plus or minus tolerance, we can't prove or disprove God, but the likelihood that you're going to say is God is not real because it seems like it's more likely that he does not exist. But that's where we'll end, and that's why we're going to.
You can. No, I think you can, like, affirmatively disprove God, right? If you're able to show that God entails a contradiction, right? And we both agree that contradictions like can't exist, right? You can't have a married bachelor. So if you're able to show that God definitively entails a contradiction, then you can make the claim he doesn't exist. In the same way, you can say a squared circle is impossible, or a married bachelor is impossible in that same way.
Okay, so we'll take that statement that you have, and even if someone's going to, right now I've heard some claims out here. It said God created evil, right? They're quoting the scripture, right? It's an Old Testament. And right now there's a lot of what they call anti-theists claiming this, right? It's a paraphrased Bible, by the way. And if you look at the root word, it says chaos. The real word is chaos. No, God did not create evil. The Hebrew word is called chaos, but some paraphrased Bibles say evil. So see, these are the small little things that add up together, right? And right now, even when you say contradiction, look, there's some bad stuff. Babies were eaten, babies were smashed, there was slavery, there's stuff that happened, but that doesn't negate that all these things are going to be permitted till the end. Okay, so that doesn't invalidate what if it's true, what's going to happen? Because
so when I was talking about like the contradiction, I was just saying that like as a general like rule of thumb, like if you're able to show that like a contradiction in a worldview, or you're able to show where you have a direct like a P and not P, right? It can be God or it can be anything, right? But we can just affirmatively say that it's impossible because it logically is impossible. So anything that's logically impossible just can't exist. That's just like a general principle that I was applying to God, but you can apply that to like anything.
Correct. To nature, right? There's there's things in design which they call irreducible design, right? There's things like
Sure.
with brothers. There's these beetles that have these two chemical components in their body. Once they're mixed, they get really hot. In fact, they burn through stuff. So and so they're saying, the thing is, on the development of all these, the trial and error to even get to that point. So there's so many things, probability, and here's my point. For some who do the research and some who look into it, being a theist isn't crazy, and it isn't that off. Sometimes what happens to me when I talk to sometimes I'm hearing a lot of atheists and agnostics. Sometimes, I'm gonna be honest with you, sometimes they're not educated, and I hear their arguments sometime, and I'm like, but here they're inferring that a religious person is usually not schooled or educated, and the inversion of that, as it were. And so for me, whenever I see that, I'm like, let me tap in here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
Anyway, well, that's it, dude. I know I went everywhere. I could tell you it was a shotgun answer from here to there and whatnot, but there you go.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
All right, dude. Take care.
You too. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Perfect. Yeah. I think I'll probably do like one more guess and then I'll probably hop off. But make sure you guys are double tapping on that screen. We hit 500 likes. God damn, you guys are awesome. I got look up. You're at like 100 and now we're at 500. You guys are awesome. Appreciate it so much. But yeah, as the live says, God is real or God isn't real. Request to join if you disagree. I'm looking for any arguments or evidence that God exists. It obviously you have to be 18 or older for TikTok TOS purposes. But other than that, hopefully you can get some up in here soon. I saw the Muslim guy. He was in here while the other guy was talking, but yeah, I think he left the stream, ran away.
The Muslims don't wanna hear it from you, man. They're too scared,
Honestly, yeah.
as usual.
Yeah. It's okay though. Hey, how's it going? Dom, hello? You're muted, by the way. Dom, hello? Oh, okay, they're gone. Don't know what that was. Okay. Oh, I guess we gotta wait for the next guest then. But yeah, if you guys are new to the stream, make sure you double tap on that screen. And yeah, we're just looking for someone to defend theism, hopefully. But yeah. Yeah. You guys are quiet relatively. What's going on with you guys on this Friday? I guess evening now at this point, low key. How are you guys doing on this Friday?
Bro, I'm doing nothing.
Honestly,
Literally
same,
nothing.
bro. I got
But
exams next
normally-
week. Oh, sorry, go
Oh,
ahead. I
yeah.
didn't mean to cut off. I
No,
didn't mean to cut
carry on. Right, okay. Well, what I was going to
Yeah,
say
sorry.
was... No, I like basically there's delays. So I thought I interrupted, but what
Oh, yeah, no, you're
usually,
good. Yeah, you're good.
Usually I go out on like a Friday, right, to go see a friend. But I thought, I'll just they wanted to do it on like a Wednesday or whatever, so I've got the afternoon to myself, I guess.
You're on UK time, right? So it's probably like super late for you, no?
No, well, it's late for a TikTok live, but it's not like really late. It's like
Oh,
it's like
okay,
9
okay.
It's like 9:37 in the evening.
Oh,
so it's
okay,
like,
okay.
It's not really that bad. But I
Okay,
was
okay.
up at like midnight the other day debating. But I was arguing with this guy and his like panel of like preachers, and I don't know why, but I wasted over like an hour and a half of my time. And this guy, he wasn't tracking at all. The circularity, the
God.
pivoting, the ad hom. Like, but I was really patient. I even was willing to start fresh from after just a straight hour of conversation. Never again. Bro, honestly. Then someone tried to pull that shit earlier, and I was like, I just shut that shit down immediately because I'm like, I'm not doing that fucking shit again.
Yeah, that sounds horrible. Bro,
Yeah.
you have way more patience than me because if I had to start from the beginning, like at that point, I'm just leaving, bro. Because like my time is just wasted, bro.
Oh yeah. Well, it's only because it was like I had like college as well, and it was like I would have had like seven. Oh, I basically had 7 hours of sleep. So if I didn't close it there, I would have been cutting it short and like becoming more and more sleep deprived. So I think if it was like maybe a couple hours earlier, I probably would have gone for like a ridiculously long time. So lesson learned, I guess.
Yeah, that's crazy, bro. I was gonna say that like I'm really gonna be busy this weekend because I have exams next week, so I need to spend pretty much the entire weekend after probably when I get done with the stream, I'll start like working on some of my assignments and start studying for my I don't have like a lot of exams, but the exams I do have are pretty difficult, so hopefully I can get through them. But then after I finish them, I'm done for the school year. So
Well, what subject are you taking?
so I'm in college right now, but I'm taking like I'm a cybersecurity major, so a lot
Oh,
of
that's
like
pretty cool.
computers. Yeah, yeah. I'm in like a lot of like computer science based classes, and so because it's computer science, there's like a lot of math and like just computer
Mm.
science based classes and stuff like that. So the exams I have two like comp sci ones, and I have one discrete mathematics exam. And then everything else, I have like two other classes which are like humanities, like. I think one's like philosophy and the other is like a engineering class, but it's like a
Fair enough.
writing class. So
That's pretty cool.
yeah, but hopefully I can not bomb my math exam because that's the one I'm most worried about because like I have no idea what we're doing in math. Like it's a completely different language to me. I can't lie. So
Really, what is
hopefully,
it? Because you weren't there for the lessons, or your
no, I mean
aptitude
I
is like
okay. Well, it's like a mix of like the professor just kind of doesn't know what he's doing, but it's also the fact that the material is just like really confusing. It's like have you heard of discrete mathematics? It's like the math where there's like propositions and like sets and all that shit. Like if you're familiar with that stuff, it's a whole
um
thing.
in theory, but I haven't done new discrete mathematics, so I'd probably be like twice as lost as you. Because you
Yeah,
are, I would
yeah.
say I think you're lowballing your ability here, but like with the humility in mind, I think I'd still be like really like lowballing. But I mean,
I mean, I think.
if you're familiar with logical notation and philosophy, you should be fine, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, a lot of it, like, there's a lot of overlap with just like general, like informal and informal logic with that math. Like, it's pretty much one to one, honestly. Like, at the beginning of the class, you were literally learning about like premises and proofs and stuff like that. So I was like, a lot of this is
Hmm.
just like basic philosophy stuff. So I did really well at the
Yeah.
beginning of the year, but when we started getting into like sets and shit like that, and like use like summations from calculus, I got lost so
For
fast. I'm not
set
even
theory
wrong.
is like really useful in like philosophy though. Like, come on,
It is, yeah.
you gotta lock in. You gotta lock in for the set theory. Plus in philosophy, like it's not really like completely equitable, right? Because a reductio isn't like a disproof, but there's like the
Mhm.
equivalent of reductios in mathematics. You can do proof by
Yep.
disproof and stuff like that, right? Or proof
Mhm.
by contradiction. So like all of these skills, you gotta lock in, man. Just imagine like you can just mathematicify these theists, right? Just
Oh
go
my
into it
God.
go into it with a philosophical mind, and you're going to be like heavily motivated. You're going to walk into that exam and go, look, I've been given a syllogism. Substitute all of those like values for like
Forgot. Oh,
respective parts
my
of a
God.
proposition, or like respective parts of a syllogism, and then just do it from there. So you can be both like entertained while you do it, and you can go, you know what, I'm actually learning it for both computer and like if you go into that exam and you just think of it as like a chore, or if you go into the revision, you think of it as a chore, you're going to struggle. Whenever I
Yeah,
go
that's
into like,
true.
whenever if bro, I do more studying on like philosophical arguments than I do the actual A levels I'm taking because I'm an idiot, right? Rather than actually spending my time and effort, doing it for the subjects I'm getting for qualifications, I'm sitting here like debating people in ChatGPT and looking on. I've got like 40 tabs on like 4 different browsers of philosophy videos because
Mhm.
I just enjoy the subject, right? So if you just do something like
Yeah,
that, pull up the revision and go, okay, well, what impact is this going to have both in terms of my future prospects for computer science and also just like this is cool as fuck for philosophy, man. If you can learn set theory, like I don't know shit about set theory, but you can be the most robust philosopher ever. You don't have to worry about deferring to a mathematician. No, no, no. You can do all of the domains.
that's right. Yeah, honestly, that's a really good mentality. I didn't even really think about that because, like, again, like a lot of the stuff that we learned in that class is just literally one to one with like a lot of like, because I also watch like a lot of like philosophical discussion, and like it's like
Mm.
1-to-1, like the set theory, knowing like the propositions and the truth values and the truth tables, all that shit is just like it's 1-to-1. So, but yeah,
Well, there you go.
yep. But let me check and see if there's anyone in the guest request because it's been kind of silent. Can't lie. Okay, well. I'll give them like 5 more minutes if I don't see another guest request, and I'll probably end stream because it's kind of dry right now. But I
Yeah,
might go
man.
live
No,
later today. We'll see.
no, because if you do that, then what's gonna happen is I'm gonna do a quick psychoanalysis, right? Okay, I'm fully qualified. You're
Okay.
gonna go and do your revision, and you're gonna be like doing it half-assed, going, okay, well, let me check my phone like 6 different times for the time, because you're gonna set a time in your head when you're gonna do the live, and it's gonna disrupt all your revision, and then you're gonna do the live and get carried on, and you're gonna have 1 day less of revision. So my advice
Oh
to
yeah,
you
you're
is
right.
you do
Yeah.
not host another one tonight, but
Okay.
you can have it as a reward. Your reward for your revision can be having to start with fucking dumbass Christians and Muslims for like a whole afternoon.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. Yeah, I guess I won't be live later today then, Loki.
Yes, for the lock-in, man, lock-in. The qualifications in computer science is better because you can say to these theists, say, shut up, you've got no argument for God, and I've got a job, and my job's going to pay more than both your parents combined, so pack it in.
I can literally buy your church, bro. Like, why are you arguing with me, bro?
Bro,
This is
exactly.
crazy.
That'd be the funniest shit ever. Imagine these guys like chatting shit, and you're like, right, okay, send me the church you go to on every weekend, and you just pull up like as the owner, and then all everyone's like glazing you, and they sit down like, what the fuck, man? And then you just ask them for that argument for God in person. That would be
Yeah,
so
that'd
cool.
be perfect, bro. I'd be like the yeah. You just imagine their fucking faces when they pull up in just like a crazy fucking. Oh, bro, that'd
Like
be
a
insane.
fluorescent suit and like a fucking dumbass hat on, and you walk in, you're like, yo, what's good, guys? And they're like, what the fuck? And you pull out your
Yeah,
Bible, and there you go, man. You could become the preacher at that point. You're probably more qualified than all of these guys anyway.
yeah. I mean, yeah. At that point, yeah. By the time I reach that point, I could be a priest if I wanted to. At that point, low key.
Yeah, gotta get gotta build up the charisma for it, you know? Like
That's
imagine being a preacher but you know
true.
set theory. Like you'll be teaching all this shit with the Bible and you go, oh look, they put it in mathematical terms, you know all the philosophy, you can make your entire like congregation like mini mathematicians. Like think of all the possibilities, man. That's what that is the benefit of revision. That's what I'm saying.
Mm, yeah. Well, okay. Well, I think it's been like I said at like 43. So we got like 2 more minutes, guys. Please, I'm looking for any theists or just believers in a God.
Bro, I'll get on my knees. I'll get on my knees and like start praying to like any given god for someone to pull up. Oh my god, I've been to so many lives, and the most fruitful discussion I had was about the age that Mary was betrothed to Joseph, which is an awful discussion, right? Because the guy was just
Mm,
pivoting the whole time. So I'd really enjoy a productive discussion.
for sure. But yeah. All right. Well. Oh, guest request.
Oh
Perfect.
my god.
Finally.
Oh my god.
Hey,
Hey,
good
how's it
afternoon.
going?
Good.
Hey.
Hey, I was wondering if
Bro,
you have any evidence.
For my lack of belief in a God.
No, you said God isn't real. So
Yeah.
what
So
evidence do you have?
yeah. So my evidence as to why I believe that God isn't real. So I think it's important that we distinguish about like what type of God I'm talking about. So when I say God, I'm just referring to an immaterial mind that created the universe,
Yeah,
right? So
but
that's
what
the
evidence? Can you name a single study?
well, I'm getting
Bob,
getting to
he's
that.
guessing the definition of God we're using. So what definition of God? Like he
Bro,
puts it
just
up there
name
as like
one
a
study that
provocation.
disproves God.
No, Bob. What God are we
You
referring to?
atheists are
The
so
title.
stupid. You don't even believe in
Bob,
science.
Bob.
Name a
What are you on
study.
about? Bob, what God are we discussing here? What is your definition for
Any
God?
any God. What's a study that disproves God?
So okay,
We're
so
s-
again,
You have a
right.
single study? Do you have any
and
Yeah,
evidence?
okay.
I
He's gonna
You just
explain to you, right? So just pack it in.
please just listen. If I could just finish, right? So you
all right.
want the evidence that God doesn't exist, right?
Yeah,
So at
because you're
so the
evidence
case
based,
that
right? You don't. It's not your
I
belief.
am
You have
evidence
evidence. You're a
based.
science
Well,
person.
my beliefs are based upon evidence, but
Okay, what's the
the fact of the
evidence?
matter
What's a
is
study?
the
Please
fact
stop
is,
interrupting, Bob. He's gonna
please,
explain to you.
if you would just let me get to it, I promise I will address this, right? So
All
it's
right.
important. Again, I'm gonna start at the beginning. It's important that we have the same definition of God, because otherwise, right, we
Okay.
might
So
not
many
have.
words. No evidence. No studies. All right. Go ahead.
Bob, stop interrupting.
Anyway,
Let's say
okay,
if we have a science experiment, you
Can I
have
ask
to
you a
define the
question?
variables, don't you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we are kind of just defining the variables, but it's fine. So, Bob, can I ask you a question before? I promise this question has relevance to, my evidence that God doesn't
Bro,
exist. So,
you can't name a single study. It's just your belief, isn't it?
can Mary bachelors exist?
You can't name a single. You have no evidence for your
Can you
for
can
your
you answer my
position.
question?
It's just
Can you answer my question?
it's
Can Mary
purely your
bachelors
belief.
exist? Can Mary bachelors
It's your
exist?
religion, isn't it?
Why are we dodging the question? I can ask it again.
Bro,
Can Mary
Bob,
bachelors
listen,
exist?
look. This is
Bro, where's your evidence? You said it's not
look,
real. What's
Bob,
your evidence? Name a
Bob,
single
look.
study.
Let me
You
explain
got
to you the
nothing.
sequences that. Yeah, Bob, hold on. Let me explain to you the sequence here, right? So the thing is, there's going to be philosophical reasoning that underlies any given claim, but because God, we're saying he doesn't exist, it's going to be difficult to kind of apply a measurement to the lack of something, right? Like I'm going
Just say
to
you have no
struggle to.
evidence.
Yeah, you stop and drop. This is the issue, Bob. Is you come up and ask something, we're about to give you a stop and drop thing. It goes to give you a philosophical account
Observable,
for why he doesn't
repeatable
believe in
evidence.
God,
You're
and you
science
keep
people, right?
interrupting.
You're so smart.
Yeah, Bob, but the scientific method isn't used for everything, is it? The scientific method is to
Just
say
to
that
admit
there's
you have no
like an
evidence.
inductive trend. Bob,
You
please stop
identify as a
interrupting me.
science person, but you
Please
have
stop
no
it. No, I
evidence.
don't.
This is your
Sorry.
personal belief.
Can you quote when either of us identified as science people?
Observable, repeatable evidence.
Sorry,
Name
Bob.
one
I'm going to ask that
study.
again. Can you
Still
quote
gonna
the
ask.
time? Can you quote when we said that we were science people?
Do you identify as a science person?
No. You asserted that we did. So can you tell me when that was?
Yeah, because you think you're smarter than everyone.
Wait, so
You
Bob,
think
that's
religious
just
people are
like
stupid.
sorry,
You
Bob.
think God
Sorry,
is
Bob.
stupid.
Sorry,
You
Bob.
think you're so smart.
Bob.
But
That's psycho.
you have
Sorry,
no
Bob. That's
evidence.
psycho. No. That's psychoanalyzing, right? You said that we said we were science people. So when did we say that?
You didn't say that, but are you? Do you identify
Okay,
as
great.
a,
Okay.
as a,
I
as
don't
a
identify as a science person. Because I don't know what that means.
you're
If you
in your
just mean that we
20s
engage in
and you took a
scientific
few college
reasoning.
classes and now you're smarter than all the
Sorry,
religious
Bob. What are you on
people?
about? I can tell you that everyone uses a scientific method, but not everything
But
is
you're
going
in
to be
your
used in a scientific
20s, right?
method. Yeah, Bob, stop interrupting.
You are
So
in your
the point
20s.
is, I'm not in my
What are you, like
20s,
a
no.
sophomore, and suddenly you've disproven God? Like, oh, you're so
Yeah, Bob,
smart.
do you want the reason? Yeah, but Bob, you keep saying this, but you're not really listening to the reasoning. So to me, it's sort of like
We
it's
need
sort
you
of like
in
you go and
Washington,
ask someone a
D.C., man.
question. Stop,
You're
Bob,
like,
hold on. Bob, hold on. It's almost as if you say to someone, "Well, why is the sky blue?" And then they go to answer, and you go, "No. What's the study?" And they go to answer, and you go, "No. What's the study?" And they go to give you the answer, and you keep repeating the same interjection over and over and over again. And then you go, "But you're a blue sky person. Give me the study." Stop interrupting me, right? That is
just
analogous to
admit
what you've
you
been
have
doing
no
just now.
evidence for your
Okay,
position.
right, Bob. Okay, are you aware of what logical impossibility means?
Bro, repeatable, observable
Sorry, Bob.
evidence. Don't
I want to give. We're going to give you a sequence of reasoning that leads to the claim, leads to the
sequence of
conclusion that God
reason.
isn't real.
No,
Yeah. A sequence of
observable,
reasoning.
repeatable evidence. That's what science
Yeah, but I
is.
never said. Sorry. But I said that everyone uses science at times. I didn't say that we
I'm
have
in my 20s.
an
I took a
inductive
college class.
case.
I'm so smart.
Sorry, Bob. Are you going to continue with the
Bob, I
My
feel like
the
you're
my
method, or are you going to
professor
contend
told
with what we're
me.
saying?
Bob,
Can I
I
talk
feel
to
like
Bob? I want to say. Can I talk to
yeah,
Bob?
yeah. Go ahead, Jay.
I
Yeah,
paid another man to teach me, and he told me these things.
Bob. Can I say something to you? You asked for evidence. Can I give you evidence?
Observable, repeatable evidence. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I
It
can't give you
disproves
that
God.
because you don't think God's physical, right?
Bro, I don't know. God can be. I don't know. This is.
I can give you logic.
You're
I
the
can
one
give you
making the
logical
claim.
proof. I can give you logical proof that your God doesn't exist.
No. This is your claim. You said God isn't real. I didn't
Yeah, I
say
know
God
exactly.
is
So I
real.
can
You're
give you
saying
logical
God isn't
proof.
real.
Yeah, exactly. I'm fulfilling my claim.
Okay, what's your evidence that God isn't real?
Okay, great. That time, it's impossible for time to be created.
Observable, repeatable evidence. That's
Yeah,
the
I don't
Okay,
need
standard
to
in
use
science.
science.
Bob.
I can
Okay,
use philosophy.
so just so we're clear, right? Are you saying that you only accept like physical evidence?
No, I'm saying you guys are in your 20s and you're super smart and you're smarter than all the religious people and
We
you're
never
I'm
made
not
no
identified
20.
as science
no
people.
one made that
And
claim.
the
That yeah,
bar
that's
for
just you
science is
projecting.
observable, repeatable
No,
evidence.
Bob.
You're
This is
taking the
you,
position and you
Bob,
have no
Bob,
evidence.
Bob. This is just you projecting, right? Your anxieties. Like you think we're smarter than you, right? But we never. No one here made the claim. Oh, he left. Okay, well, perfect.
Oh my
But
god, bro, they can't get worse than that. They can't.
like,
This is what
bro.
we have to sit through. I don't understand. Yeah, I understand that like some atheists have like a similar kind of like ineptitude,
Yeah,
but
I
like at least
agree.
they're
Yeah.
not. At least when it comes to them pivoting, a lot of them just go, well, look, they don't because they don't really understand what evidence means. But when it comes to theists, they have like a different level of dogma. Right? I'm talking like
Mhm.
different level, like the point where they won't even like adhere to the normal reasoning and logic they use for every day. Then they have this one intuition. They go no, and they just reject every form of like reasoning that you use against it, and then refuse to
Yeah.
engage in any sort of rational discourse. It's ridiculous.
And he's also just strawmanning our position, right? Like I don't think anyone here
Literally admitted we
holds.
didn't call ourselves science people, and then sort of
I am a
like,
science person.
sort of drew no, but even if we accept like what I basically gave a sort of like clarified version of what I would think that means, and I said even if we did think that we were science people, it wouldn't therefore follow that everything has to be done through study in a sense of giving some variables and saying, okay, what's the hypothesis, what's the observation? Because arguably that would be part of Bayesian reasoning, right? But I can't be able to give this guy a crash course on like Bayes' theorem or parsimony because he would just keep repeating this. He'd keep repeating the same fucking script and going, oh, what's your study? So there's no point even doing anything, right?
He's just being intellectually dishonest at that point. Like, yeah.
He's
I
just
mean, I
sort of
could-
like the moon's made of cheese.
Well, the thing
and
is,
then go,
he was
"What's the
asking for
study
like
otherwise?"
scientific evidence, and for me, I feel like the closest scientific evidence we have that God doesn't exist is the new DESI model that was released with like dark
Yeah.
energy. Like,
Mhm.
but I wasn't going to run through that with him because clearly I don't think he understands physics to that level.
Oh no, brother, what? No. If I couldn't even get him to accept that like contradictions can exist, he could not get anywhere
Yeah, no, there's
near.
no way he
Yeah,
could like
no.
understand any of Newton's laws or any basic physics or anything.
No, not at all. But yeah, that guy is a nutcase, but I'm
And that
used to
guy's
it at
going
this
to
point.
heaven, I guess.
Yeah, that's your most average Christian, right? Like being very clearly closed-minded and just being
Oh,
disrespectful.
I was literally on a panel with these Christians, and I joined, and they said, "Do any disbelievers come up?" And I was trying to speak to them, and then the host kept saying, "How can you have a mind without God? How can you
Oh
have a
my
mind
God,
without God?"
tag? Oh my
And then
God.
no, but she wasn't saying it like she wasn't actually running the tag. She was just like, she was saying, "How can you have a brain without God?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And they said, "Yeah, because your brain could be where your ass is, and God can make that so, but God doesn't make it so, so therefore God exists." I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? And then somebody else tried to say to me, "Why do you think God doesn't exist?" And I said, "I don't think any God exists." And then they said, then they kicked me and said, "You're too close-minded."
Yeah, TikTok theists are a different breed, bro. I can't lie. Like,
Bro, I verbatim have that. I know, honestly, that's really weird because I verbatim had that discussion. Do you remember the person that like who ran the live was? It wasn't. Let me give a quick guess because if it is, I'm going to be like really depressed with the TikTok theist, right? Was it either Theo or Present or He is Risen?
No. It was this random. It was just a random American woman. I think she was like in her late 40s or something, and like one of my mutuals was like on their live, but this mutual that I follow, he like doesn't do anything. He just goes onto random theist lives and he just sits there. And so I joined onto the live, and it said non-believers. But I know who Present and like He is Risen. They're terrible argumenters.
oh yeah,
I saw a
just
Present.
Google
I saw a
this.
Present. Like a clip of Present's live, and then he was saying like, "I'm not into philosophy, but like you can't have logic without God." I'm like, okay.
Yeah, honestly, like they're just goofballs. We're like Darth Dawkins, like whatchamacallit?
No, but
Like
Darth
underling.
Dawkins, he's just like the way he argues. He just brings up loads of philosophy, And then if you disagree with him, and then he says, "No, you can't disagree with me because you don't have God that's backing up your knowledge and all this stuff." Like, bro.
Oh,
You know, I've
he's like
actually
a crazy
had Darth Dawkins
sophist.
in these live before. Like, he was actually in my live before. I'm not even trolling.
Oh, I
Like, I think a
hate
couple
him. I
weeks
was on
ago.
someone else's live once, and he offered to come up, and like honestly, you can tell the story, but like my recommendation is just to always just go no, because you do not want him on your fucking panel.
Oh yeah, no. When he was up here, like he was just over talking me, and I just dropped him. So
No, he
good
calls
call.
everyone disingenuous that doesn't agree with him, and then if you try to ask for him to fulfill his burden of proof, he says like God is the foundation for my truth or this other stuff, and then just sticks to that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like the crazy, it's not like Darth Dawkins treats everyone like that. Like, if he finds out that you're like a Catholic or you're someone that's not like of his like religious beliefs, then he just also crucifies you because then he just judge. Like, Darth Dawkins is an asshole to everyone, even Christians. So,
He literally attacks.
like,
He's like, okay, you're a Christian. Okay, let me give you this really niche trivia question about the Bible. Get it wrong, you're not a fucking Christian. It's like,
exactly,
I
yeah, yeah.
I joined the live of this guy, and he was saying ex-Christians, or atheists, why did you leave Christianity? And I joined because like I was like a Christian when I was like a child.
Yeah.
And then I like left it when I was like 11 or something. And then I joined, and this guy said, why did you leave Christianity? And no. First he said, "Were you an ex-Christian?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Okay, name me what it says in Isaiah 10:2." I'm like, bro,
Oh my God,
like
not
I'm not gonna
fact.
memorize the entire fucking Bible when I'm a child.
The knowledge check is insane, bro. Like, I think that's irrelevant. Like, it shouldn't matter whether or not you read the entirety of the Bible. If as long as you had like the general idea and you accepted Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, then by definition you're just going to be a Christian, right? Like, I mean, that kind of just falls into like the no true Scotsman fallacy. Like, oh, you weren't really a Christian if you can't do X, Y, Z, or you don't know these parts of the Bible. And it's just facetious, and I don't know. Especially like people on TikTok, like they just abuse that. They just say, "Oh, you don't know this or you don't know that, so you weren't really a Christian." It's just
Yeah, I've
like,
also heard like people saying like whenever I was debating like a Christian or a Muslim, they say like, no, how you can't tell me what this means because you're not a Muslim or you're not a Christian, so you can't say what your opinion is on the religion.
oh yeah, that too. It's also horrible. Yeah, TikTok theists they're just goofballs. Can't lie. I think the worst of them though is definitely like Q-Top. I think he like
I don't even
just
know.
oh my God, his music is so
Does Q-Top
bad.
have BPD?
honestly,
Oh,
I think it's very
probably.
possible. Very
That
possible.
guy,
Because
he
I
has
swear
some weird crash out tendencies.
no, but he like I think it was like 2 years ago. I found his live,
Mhm.
and then I joined, and then I was like, he was saying that atheists don't have morality and stuff, or atheists is child abuse, something like that.
Oh
And I
yeah,
joined,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I joined, and I was trying to ask him what he meant, and then he was saying like this whole morality thing, saying like if you don't have God in your blah blah blah, then it's like child abuse because you don't have a right or wrong, all this type of stuff. And then I was like asking him why, like to create a foundation for that. He didn't give me a foundation, and then he just kicked me. And then last year I saw he was pretending to be an atheist, and now he's gone back to being a Christian. I don't understand.
Wait, he pretended to be an atheist? Are you serious?
Yeah, he had a panel. He had a panel where he was like, "Prove God exists," whilst holding the atheist view.
Oh my God. I have like this conspiracy that Q-Top was actually an atheist, but he's like pretending to be a Christian because of obviously
That's what I was
Christians.
thinking.
Yeah,
I was
I think
thinking.
he's legit an atheist, but he's just
I was
trolling. I don't
thinking
know.
like maybe
No,
at the start.
I don't think
I was
he
thinking.
is.
I was thinking what he did right. He's actually an atheist, but he's trying to be a devil advocate for theism. And then when he was an atheist, that's how he actually feels. But then when he went
Mhm.
back to theism, he's trying to play devil's advocate. So it's like a double cross.
I think it's for money, right? Because like if you watch Q-Top streams, like a lot of the times he's like begging for donations or like he has like policies that are specifically about like donations. And I think because he knows that like, Christians are, there's a lot more Christians on this app than there is atheists, right? And Christians are
You
very
get a lot more
supportive.
money from them, yeah.
Yeah, so I think he's just
Plus, he
milking the
releases music
Christians.
as well. He can probably get like
Which is
donations from Patreon.
dog shit. If you've ever heard his fucking music, bro, it might
I've
be like
heard, I've heard it. So I mean, that would arguably, like, if we're being nice and saying he's not actually just awful at making music. Let's say if there's just like really low quality so you can dish it out at like a faster pace with like no effort required.
Please make a podcast.
Oh, this guy
What?
loves you. Apparently, you
Wait,
saved him for
me?
his finals like multiple
Please.
times.
Are you talking about a podcast? What are you talking about? I can't-
Like a Spotify podcast.
Dog,
Please.
I have no clue how to do that, but like I might low key do it just for you, bro. Because like this is insane dedication. I feel like you've been asking me to do this for a while.
Hello. I can't tell whether it was like
Yeah, hello.
3 days or 2 days.
Bro, let's do a
Please.
podcast. Do a podcast. Do your vision at some point, then
Wait,
do a
what's
podcast.
Q-Top's music?
Awful.
I don't think you want to hear it. I can't lie.
You don't
I
want
wanna
to. You don't
hear
want to
it.
listen. You don't want to listen. to it.
I think we want
go
to
on his
spare you.
profile.
Go on YouTube.
Go on his profile. There'll be a link to it.
Like
probably.
record your lives and then just like post them
Yeah,
onto.
put them on
I
you-
think
put
you
them on
could
YouTube,
either
like
post
Monkey
them
Boy
onto
does.
YouTube or Spotify. Just like make
Yeah, I
VODs.
agree. That'd be so good.
Please.
Yeah. Yes, I got you, Crow. Yeah, I'll next live. I
Good,
will. I promise you, just for you. I'll record it. I have a YouTube channel already.
Like y'all haven't been.
What's your channel? What's your channel?
It's hold on. Give me a second. I actually don't remember what my channel name is.
Wait, what's his account?
Yeah, I'll put it
name?
in the chat. I'll put it in the chat. Oh, actually, I can't put it in the chat.
What's Q-Top's
actually-
account name? I can't find it.
It's like I think it's like I don't even know at this point. Crow. I'm putting it in whatchamacallit in the chat.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's my
Thank
YouTube account.
you.
I'll try to post more often, like on there, and do like recordings of my lives.
All right, I need to subscribe to it real quick. Hold up.
Oh, he makes both Christian and normal music.
Wait, he makes normal music? I thought it was just Christian music.
I hear that shit.
Please do not, bro. Please, bro. Spare
I don't want
everyone
to
in the
listen
audience.
to that, bro. Please.
Nobody wants to hear that shit, bro. Please, I
The
beg.
devil's all
beg, I
in my
beg, I
mind. The devil's all in my mind.
beg.
Trials and
Bro,
tribulations.
please, bro. This is insane. I
That
can't.
is hard.
That's
Bro, I'm
insane.
not even atheist, but you have saved me so many times, bro.
Really?
Since when is this guy? Since when is K doing history lessons? What?
No, but not like history, but like everything. He's talked about every single thing. I don't know how he manages
Yeah.
to do it, but it saves me for all of my subjects.
Yeah, Kay, you might have to start a religion.
Oh God! Please don't put that on me. Oh, I can't. I'm already a Freemanist. I can't betray my one true religion. Oh, Josh, I'm so sorry, Josh. You've been in here. I completely forgot I accepted you. Yeah. How are you doing, Josh?
I'm good. I was eating, so it's fine.
Perfect.
Could you substantiate the claim? Why don't you believe in God?
Yeah, so whenever I'm saying like God, I'm just referring to an immaterial mind that created the universe with the omni property set. And the reason that I particularly say that God doesn't exist is because I believe that that God follows or it entails a sort of contradiction. And the way that the contradiction is arrived is from the problem of evil, and specifically not just evil itself, but the act of unnecessary evil and unnecessary suffering, because we would expect that under a hypothesis in which there is a all-powerful and an omnibenevolent being that looks over all of life that's on earth, we would expect that we would expect that there's cases of unnecessary evil, right? We would expect that evil would exist, right? And that's a result of free will.
Yeah, not grotesque evil, sure.
Yeah.
So Christians, an easy retort to this would be that when you're looking at like the omnibenevolence, so the all goodness, good is or evil or bad is the deprivation of God, right? So goodness isn't the same good as we're talking about as like a good action or a bad action, right? It's the belonging to God itself. So that's
How
what
do you know that?
Christians. No, that's what you mean. How do you do that?
Like, how do you know that? So, for example, like with us knowing that darkness isn't actually like a thing, it's actually just the lack of photons, right? Which is light. How do you know that bad is just the lack of good?
Are you kidding me right now?
Yeah.
Oh, so you're messing, right? Oh wait, you're not that's
Yeah,
the
no,
thing,
I'm not. I'm sorry, no, I'm not kidding you. Like, how do you know that bad is the lack of good, and like, and that
Yeah,
it's not like, how do you determine which one is the lack of which?
sure. Well, that would be like based upon like the lowest form, like conceptually, like opposites. You don't like why are they formed, or what exactly are you asking me?
No, it's because the whole point is that, like, for
Do you
example,
wait,
with
hold on, Jay. Do you believe that there is such thing as good?
not objectively, no.
No, but when you're looking at good from like, or for example, is there a right or wrong way to do something?
In what context?
In any context.
Well, the whole point is that it's contextual. That's why.
No, I'm asking you within any context you can pick. Is there a right or wrong way to do something?
In some contexts, no. In some contexts, yes.
So in the context that is yes, are
Yeah.
you stating that that isn't real?
What's not? No. Yeah, but right and wrong don't determine what. Are you talking about right and wrong in morality, or right and wrong in terms of like a correct way of doing something, like a correct
Right
way of
and
doing an
wrong,
experiment, or
like
correct way of
from
driving a car?
yeah, right and wrong based upon morality.
Yeah, I don't think there is. I don't think there is a natural an intrinsic like value in that.
Sure, yeah. So this is I don't mean to be rude. Are you like young? Are you around like 18, 19? Or
How is that relevant?
okay, well, no, I'm just asking you, like, have you like read any literature on this? Okay, okay. If not, it's very simple. Do you know the big and small rat experiment?
No.
Well, this kind of disproves your point completely. So to make it very simple, there's a big and a small rat, and they play, right? They wrestle each other. If the big rat wins over 70% of the games that they play, the small rat will no longer play. Okay, so then the big rat from that loses on purpose. Even though it can not lose, it loses on purpose. So there's a right and wrong way to play, right? This is the foundation of morals.
But how's it got anything to do with morality?
Yeah, so when you're looking at cooperation, cooperation is predicated on a right way to cooperate. If I could not cooperate rightly, then there would be no cooperation.
Yeah, but what does that have to do with morality, though?
Are you sure? This is the foundation of morality.
Yeah, but you can cooperate within like a systemically beneficial way, but that doesn't mean that it's like entailed with morality.
It is entailed with because because you're looking at something right.
Yeah, and I just said there is no such thing as right and wrong in morality, because there is no such thing as like an objective morality of right and wrong. You can have right and wrong in like systemic ways of like completing processes, but like that's not entailed with morality.
No, hold on a second. So when you're looking at social interaction, okay,
Yeah.
and you're looking at cooperation, let's say, for example, a team, okay, that team is predicated on like a set game, and the set game is based upon cooperation, reciprocity, okay?
Okay.
When you're looking fundamentally at like us playing, so not based upon survival, recreational, okay, there's a right and wrong way to play. If there was not, okay, then there
based
would
on what
be
factors?
Hold on, Jay. If there was no right and wrong way to play, there would be no play. Yet in every single mammal, there is play.
Yeah, so the whole point with if there's recreational uses like within this team, right? There's a right and wrong way to play, ensuring systematic benefits, right? This has got nothing to do with morality. This is just how efficient a system is.
No, it's not to do with the efficiency. So, for example, if it was to do with the efficiency, then the big rat would always win.
Okay, but where's the morality?
That means, hold on a second. So that means that when we're looking at this, it's not to do with efficiency, because the big rat can easily win, but it doesn't. It chooses willingly to lose, to play rightly. This is the same thing with children when they play house, or if they're playing simple conceptual games.
Yeah,
right.
right. So
this is very fundamental, easy things, right? If you knew literature, this would be the first thing. When you're stating there's no morality, it's a ridiculous notion. You have to substantiate how that's the case.
Yeah,
I
no, I would just say
floated.
that. What's the problem with just saying that the rats are choosing to lose on certain areas? That's just an amoral act.
That's not amoral. What?
Why not?
Because they're establishing the game itself. They're still playing the game. Unless you're looking at a psychopath, right, who does something in one set game and doesn't play another game, then they can get away with just doing whatever.
Yeah, but how do you create the differentiation between whether them not doing it or doing it is good or bad?
Because okay, oh my God. So when you're looking at cooperation, there has to be a right way to cooperate. Do you agree or disagree with that?
A right way to cooperate to ensure what?
No, I'm asking you a question. Simple yes or no.
Yeah, but to ensure what's the
No,
cooperation leading to?
cooperation within itself. Cooperation.
There's a right way and wrong way to cooperate.
Yeah. Do you believe that?
What? So are you asking if there is a right way to do the action of cooperating, or or is it that?
Yeah, the action of cooperating, regardless of the game.
Yeah. There's a correct way. Yeah, because if you don't cooperate in the
Yeah,
right way, then
exactly.
you're not cooperating.
Exactly.
Okay,
So when you look at this experiment and why it's so famous, right, is because it shows you that even within rats, okay, there is a right and wrong way to cooperate in play, not based upon survival, right? When you're
Okay.
stating that there's not, and that there's no such thing as morality, you either have to substantiate that claim, and if you don't, then it's just a ridiculous, you're just like appealing to absurdities.
What? So your definition of morality is the ability to cooperate.
Well, that would be the foundational morality, right? But if you want to look at contextual morality, then we can look at cases like Schmurder or stuff like that. This is very common knowledge if you were to know literature. You would have to substantiate to me
I would just
that
like
there's
hold
no
up.
moral.
I would just like to futurely apologize for any noises my trumpet makes. As it is very
Nice.
creaky. Listen to this.
So, Jake, could you show me why there's no morals?
Give him a second.
Sure. Or even the host. Do you believe in morals, host?
I'm pretty sure Jay. Wait, who's the? Yeah, I'm pretty sure Jay
I-
is the host.
No, I am.
Jay and Kay the same person. Sorry, I'm confused.
No, we're not. No.
Okay.
I believe in objective morality, but yeah, I do believe morality exists personally.
Wait, Josh, by objective, do you mean mind independent or stance independent?
Oh, my dog. Sorry. I'm sorry. Hold on.
Josh,
Yeah.
are you referring to mind independent morality or stance independent morality?
Stance.
Oh, right, okay. But what's the relevancy of this to God?
It's showing that morality is real. Well, Jay was stating it's not real.
Yeah, I
I
think
play
what he
my
meant by
trumpet
that
to
is
make
it
my
doesn't
dog
have
calm down.
ontology. Like, it's just going to be like I can say it's just a product of neurology, right? It's just our description of like emotional dispositions that we categorize as oughts in some sort of cognitive framework. It doesn't therefore follow that morals are real in any sort of independent categorical sense. So I don't see how that's going to suggest that God exists.
I've never suggested God is existing here.
Oh,
I haven't
right. So it's
posited
just
that
a
claim.
discussion of objective standards.
Yeah, I haven't posited my claim. Jay is the one who was talking to you about his stance on morality.
Oh, right. Okay. And what was your argument for
Well,
objective
Jay
morality?
is stating that there's no morals, right? Which is a ridiculous notion.
I don't think that's a ridiculous notion.
I feel tensions
Well,
are getting
could
pretty
you
high, so
substantiate
here's
that? Go
a
ahead.
question to break the tension. Who do you think is better, LeBron or Michael Jordan? Prime.
I don't really watch basketball.
Could you provide me why there's no morals?
Yeah, well, I wasn't stating that was. I was saying it's not incoherent for me to be no morals, right? Because the idea that if I took a kind of Well, it depends if your like attitude towards them was this moral facts or moral truths, right? Because obviously a moral fact or moral truth is going to be something with propositional truth values, and if you have to take a sort of moral error theorist or non-cognitivist approach, then the whole discussion becomes misguided, right? I don't necessarily adhere. I might adhere to the non-cognitivist side of things. I don't think I'm necessarily an error theorist, but I mean. Sorry, my earphones are dying. But yeah, hopefully that kind of... I don't really understand what would make it incoherent for there to be no morals.
Yeah, so the incoherency would be the action that we're all playing.
So what?
Yeah, so if we're studying all mammals play. So that would indicate the foundational level biologically of morals.
Right, but why would I... Right, okay, but there's a variety of things that all mammals do that doesn't necessarily make one of them the foundation for morality.
Well, no, my argument is that this is the foundation of morality. It's not that I'm arbitrarily picking this. This is like, do you know John Piaget?
No.
Well, this is his work, The Biology of Morals.
Okay.
So when you come to me and you say that there's no morals, I'm assuming that's an absurdist view. And most people, if they were to actually hold that view, would be absurdist or seen as absurdist. So you have to substantiate why you believe them not to be.
I wasn't saying that morals don't exist, but that there is no objective standard for the morals.
Yeah, so then you're a moral relativist, right? That's a completely different claim than saying that there's no morals.
What I was asking is, with your example, is I was trying to ask if there was a standard on whether something is good or bad.
Yeah,
like an objective standard to dictate whether there is a good or bad in this situation.
Yeah, and I said yes. When you're looking foundationally, play circuits happen in all mammals. That means that regardless if you're a Christian or you're an atheist, you both have the same foundational moral framework.
Well, can I ask you a question, Josh? And I'm a little late to the convo, but how, it just seems, maybe I'm misguided in what I'm saying, but it seems like you're just attributing cooperation as a good thing. And you might have substantiated this point previously, and I wasn't here for that, but it just seems like you're just saying cooperation is a good.
Yeah, no, to cooperate is to do something in a right manner.
Yeah, but would that make it are you trying to say that cooperation is morally? Yeah, it can be a correct function, right? I can cooperate with someone on a basketball team to score a goal with an alley-oop.
Wait, but the correctness is based in the morals, right? So I don't really think you can define it with something that you use morals for. That just sounds like a circular definition or a circular account for it, surely.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to say is it seems like we're just attributing cooperation or to a good, the good, the noun to cooperation, and we're not really providing a substantiation for that. We're just saying cooperation is good. Well, yeah, and I might be late to the game, and I apologize for that.
To make it very simple, the big and small rat experiment.
Hey, y'all, I'm gonna be honest real quick. I'm actually in my ceiling right now, and I found a cool ass trombone.
All right, thanks for sharing that.
Bro's going crazy with those horns. That's awesome. But continue.
If you're looking at the big and small rat, I've already stated. I'm not going to state it again, right? If you're looking
speaking of big and small rat.
If you're looking at the play,
get out of here.
There's right and wrong ways to play. And if there was no right or wrong way to play, right, then there would be no play.
Well, maybe I'm just not tracking. So there's a right and wrong way to play.
Yeah.
But just because it's the right action of cooperation doesn't indicate that it's a good. It just means that there's a right way to cooperate.
How would it not imply it's a good?
Well, because you're just saying that it's a right action, right? You're just saying this is how cooperation functions, and I agree. I agree that we can cooperate, and there's a right way to cooperate, but that doesn't mean that it's morally good. You can cooperate if your definition of cooperation is just to achieve some goal. Is that your definition?
Well, yeah, to achieve the goal of playing.
Yeah, to achieve. Well, that just seems like just saying cooperation just means like a right way of playing, but like we're not really substantiating why that's a good thing. Is
That's
to
what I was
play.
asking.
Yeah, that's
so
my question.
yeah, so it's good intrinsically, fundamentally, right? It's good because it creates the thing so that you can do the certain thing. If you're looking, for example, at what is right or wrong, right, or what is good and bad is derived from right or wrong. And what are those concepts fundamentally? What are they based upon?
What is the concept of good and bad?
No, right or wrong,
Fundamentally,
good or bad. What are they based upon fundamentally?
just in my opinion, an agreed upon consensus. Like we can say that there's a right way to play basketball based on the rules. Like there's a right way to play it to achieve the goal. But
There you go.
but that doesn't
Hold
mean
on,
there's
hold
a
on. You've just now answered through my perspective, because no matter what kind of contextual framework you bring it to, you're talking about play.
okay. I think I'm grasping like the good comes from the right action essentially of cooperation is
Yeah,
if I'm
there you
stating
go.
okay. I'm kind of grasping your like are you I'm not too big into I'm trying to learn like meta ethics, like moral realism, like non-cognitivism and moral error theory. Like what is your like particular stance on those?
Well, I'm not talking when we're looking at like contextual morals, like is Schmurder wrong or something like that. I think it depends. I don't really have a perspective on either, right? I would say that it would just be like kind of a more complex game. So I would say fundamentally it's objective, but then it can become subjective depending on how you look at it.
Okay, that
Oh,
I agree
okay.
with. That I agree with.
See, I can see the cooperation theory, right? Like if we can agree upon that, like human flourishing is a good thing that happens, like with like a
Yeah.
an absolute amount of harm reduction. I can see definitely your perspective on like cooperation, because it would be very uncooperative of us to just schmurder each other, right? We wouldn't reach
Exactly.
the goal of human flourish. So okay, I see your perspective definitely. I do believe in objective morality. Mine's more of like empathy based, in a way.
Was,
Like
is that
I
like an
think
evolution?
that
Is that like an arise through like an evolutionary process?
yeah, I think that empathy and I'm trying to recall the argument. Like empathy in this conversation we're trying to have, right? Like I was trying to understand your perspective, and that can only be done through me being empathetic to wanting to hear you. You know, that can only be expressed, or that can only be achieved through me being empathetic towards your viewpoint. So I think that, and that leads to like, you know, cooperation as well and like human flourishing. So I think that empathy is objectively a moral good, because it's what's presupposed in every conversation we're having. I'm trying to reach your perspective, and I think that's a good.
That's
So like I'm
that's
not,
100% true, right? What you're stating goes hand in hand in what I'm stating.
yeah. So I think we're in absolute agreement. I was trying to understand your framework of like what you were saying. I wasn't disagreeing inherently. I was just trying to establish what you were saying.
Yeah, then that's fine.
So Josh, I think I understand you. So basically, you weren't saying that like that with the right and wrong on how to play, on how to cooperate. It's not really like a subjectively based like context with if you have like more complex ways of cooperation, but it's more like this is like the intrinsic like foundation of what morality it is, right? Yeah, so with that I agree with. And then when you come up with like more complex situations, like with like Schmurder and stuff, like then obviously I think that those become
It gets
like
more subjective. Yeah.
those become more subjective, because of all of the net factors you have to take into account.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
The more complex the game gets, the more it's like it becomes more subjective, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's very famous way of thinking, right? Like even if you're looking at the psychology of children, if you don't want to look at animals, it shows you that play is intrinsic. And there's right and wrong way to play. If you're looking at,
I'm outside. I'm in nature. There's a bear. Help me.
Host, when you're stating God isn't real, right, because of the problem of evil, is that
staring
only
right at me?
is that only in relation to misunderstanding what Christians believe to be good, or is it that you don't actually like God?
Guys, I think this is going to be my last time on stream.
Wait, so Josh, you a Christian?
I like the Christian story a lot, so probably, yeah.
Oh, you like? Okay. Do you think there's like any evidence for like a God existing?
It depends on what you mean by evidence.
Information that would like lead or increase the probability of the existence of the God.
Well, sure. Well, you could look at, like, for example, God claims are everywhere, even within science. So if you're looking at the Big Bang Theory, that's predicated on the God of the gaps fallacy by dark energy.
Wait. So, where's the God claim? Well, apart from the fact that like the Big Bang Theory was created by a Belgian Catholic, where is the God claim inside the actual theory?
I'll explain it. So, do you know what dark energy is?
No, it's a placeholder.
A placeholder? What do you mean?
Like we don't actually know what dark energy is, other than that it's the
that's what you were stating as the definition. Oh, right, okay.
Hey, yo, here are my cousins. Hold up.
So when you're looking at dark energy itself, right, completely theoretical, you have zero evidence actually for the thing itself. Yet it's the thing which fundamentally makes the Big Bang Theory work.
But no, we have evidence that we have evidence that like dark energy exists, like it has an effect on the universe, but we don't have evidence of what it actually like causes that effect.
No, but that's all theoretical.
Oh.
No, space expanding is like a.
Chickens up in the ceiling.
Space expanding is arbitrary because it's based on a singular point in which you determine the center.
Would we center?
For example, when you're looking at like
how you doing?
Different galaxies away from our galaxy, right?
Why are all these
in over a couple of billion years, they'll only be the Milky Way and Andromeda. They'll combine, and we won't be able to see any other galaxy anywhere, right? That's what will happen in a couple of billion years. But from their framework, right? If you were to live then, that you would be the center, right? And things would be expanding out from your point. It's all arbitrary. There's no actual center, right? This is all hypothetical.
Obviously there is no center in the universe because like mathematically it would be like an infinite plane. So there is no center of it.
So where is it expanding into, or where is it?
So that's the whole point. So the whole point of the expansion is that it happens everywhere within space.
Yeah, no. So where is it reverting to? Like, where is the point where it's all going out from?
Yeah, it's expanding into itself.
It's expanding into itself, and that idea is completely nonsense. So what you're stating, you're stating that.
Host, could you mute the crow, please?
Yeah, I got you. Bro, what the
Yeah, what were you saying, Josh?
Expansion within itself doesn't make any sense.
Why not?
Because you're stating that there is like a limitless expansion of a said thing. It's like a room that always gets bigger. But what's outside of the room?
Yeah, there is no. But the thing is, if you put it in the concept of a room, right? We already know that the room is already finite. Hence why it's called a room, because it would have floors and ceilings and walls. That's what we would attribute
what is
to the
it
description of a
expanding
room.
into? If you're stating it's expanding into itself, then what is not self?
There is no not self.
There you go. That's a problem.
How?
Because you're stating that everything is everything, right? That's the claim here. You're stating that
Yeah, the
everything,
universe is everything.
yeah, everything exists, but there's more than everything because it's expanding. So everything
No,
is
it's not. It's not
contradicting
more.
itself.
It's not more if it's still the exact same.
No, it's
What
not
do you
the
mean
same
more?
because you're stating it's expanding. Expanding is not the same as before it expanded.
The thing is the space. The space is stretching, which is like in itself it's expanding, but it's not like creating. It's not like creating more volume.
If it's not creating more volume, then what do you mean by expanding?
That it's stretching the plane in which things exist.
And when you say stretching, what does that actually mean? Does that mean that there's more things or that there's no things?
Well, I guess they would say like the expansion of space in itself is more just like it's hard concept. It's like I don't know how to describe it properly.
But if you're looking at what the consensus say, is that from science, if you believe in the Big Bang, right? These concepts are stating that it's expanding within itself, right? But that expansion, when you're looking at self, right, the singularity, what is outside of the singularity? If you're saying nothing, right, the concept of nothing makes zero sense, because to even describe nothing, you're giving it a category. To say the opposite and say everything, as what you're stating, is the same amount of ridiculous, because it's stating that how can you even substantiate what everything is?
So then, what do you think explains the motion of galaxies then?
Yeah, so I don't believe in the Big Bang model. When you're looking at galaxies, I think it's far too complex to say that we like have a set notion of it.
But how do you explain the motion of them?
Like the Fibonacci motion, like the kind of sequential.
No. Like the fact that things are moving further away from each other, or things go close to each other and stuff. Apart from, because like we know that the things that bring mass together would be the gravitational field strength.
Yeah, so if you have infinite mass within a singular point, how can it expand?
But what did you say?
If you have infinite mass within one set point, how can it expand?
Yeah. Wait, hold up. Do you think that the Big Bang posits like the universe expanding from a single point in space?
No, a single point within itself.
But it's not saying like a single point is like
The singularity is a single point.
In time.
No, the singularity is a single point.
What do you mean as a point?
Like the set location of itself is within itself, that specific point. I don't understand how you would say anything else. Like,
so the point is just itself.
Yeah, but the point itself has infinite mass, yet it's expanding. Could you provide evidence how that would work based upon the model of science?
But the universe doesn't have infinite mass.
No, the singularity does.
Sorry to interrupt. It's actually really nice out.
The singularity doesn't have infinite mass. It has infinite density.
Yeah. So when you're looking at density, what does
I guess
what does gravity work on? Is it?
They would say that. Wait, what do you mean?
When you're looking at
density doesn't predicate gravity.
So the density doesn't predicate gravity. Okay. So when you're looking at for example, you're looking at a trampoline and you were to drop different sized marbles within it, the biggest marble would go to the center and then the smaller ones would go around it until they join at the center, right?
Yeah.
What's that based upon?
I'm gonna catch this big ass frog.
That's based on mass.
Put up. I'm gonna leave over here. Put up.
That's based on mass. You know, W weight is equal to mass.
I know what mass is, yeah.
Yeah.
And so when we're looking
it's not a predicate on the density because like For example, we know that the things don't fall because of density. For example, this can be shown with like the Galilean experiment. Do you know the Galilean where
Yeah.
you drop like a bowling ball and a feather in
Yeah.
a vacuum without air resistance, and they would fall and touch the ground at the same time? Right. This shows that the way things fall isn't predicated on the actual density of the material, because obviously a bowling ball is a lot denser than a feather, but it's based purely on the acceleration caused by gravity. That's why the bowling ball and the feather touch the ground at the same time in a vacuum.
Sure. Yeah, okay, so just saying its mass, for example, if we're looking at this, so you're saying the singularity didn't have infinite mass.
No.
Okay, could you show me that?
I did get the frog.
Yeah, so mass within a closed system is conserved. Same with energy as well. Of course, you know that. But the whole point is that the mass that we see now in the universe is, I guess, calculated to be finite, as well as the energy. So like, it wouldn't make sense for the mass and energy to somehow become finite even within a state of a singularity. It would still just hold the exact same values of mass and energy, since they're always conserved.
Okay, so are you saying that the energy so all the energy we have in the universe now in this singular point, right? Is all the energy we have in the universe right now, was that in one singular point?
It was all conserved as in the singularity, but it wasn't compressed into like some singular point in space. No, but because the whole point of the singularity.
Wait, hold on a sec. So if energy is not destroyed or created, right?
Yeah.
Where is it coming from if not the singularity?
What do you mean? The singularity didn't create energy.
No, energy within the singularity.
Right.
I'm asking you, is all of the energy within the singularity?
At the point at which the universe was a singularity, yeah.
Yeah. And then when we're looking at the mass, right?
Yeah.
Was all the mass within that singular point?
Yeah.
How does gravity work?
What in the point of singularity?
Yeah.
I don't know how gravity would work there. I think it would just be like.
So it doesn't work there.
Well, I'm not like super educated on the singularity aspect.
Well, the singularity aspect is the theory itself, right? You can look you can look at the afterthoughts of like the train of thought after, like when you're looking at galaxy formations and stuff like that and how they work. But if we're looking at gravity within the singularity, it doesn't exist. It doesn't make any sense. It goes against the notion of gravity.
No, wouldn't the singularity just be like this is only assumptions by me. I just think that wouldn't the gravity in at the point of the singularity just be like infinite? No.
Exactly.
Okay.
So how can something expand with infinite gravity? That's the very first question I asked you.
Well, how I saw that because I think of the universe existing in a cyclic model, right? So like it goes through a cycle of big bangs and big crunches, and there's just like
but how? Sure, even if you had that cycle, how does the cycle work with gravity?
What do you mean? Why wouldn't it work?
At the singular point, right? When it's crunched up, right? How does it expand again?
Yeah.
How does it expand again?
Yeah, I would say that like a proven thing, right? It's just purely an assumption.
It's purely
right.
Theoretical.
Yeah, exactly. So like,
and the same thing with dark energy, which means that it's a god of the gaps fallacy. Something you cannot explain, you posit something else to explain the said thing. That's a god of the gaps fallacy.
Yeah,
That's
the whole point of the dark energy is that they say that the space is expanding, but they don't know what causes the expansion.
Yeah.
Hence why they put the placeholder of the dark energy.
Yeah, so the dark energy itself is theoretical, and it's used so that the Big Bang Theory model works. That's a God of the
Right.
gaps fallacy. I don't see how you can't see that.
So they didn't wait. So you don't think that things are moving away from in space, right? If you don't think that dark energy is used to describe them, is able to describe the motion of these galaxies and like why things move away from each other, what would be your justification for that without dark energy?
It's arbitrary. So
How?
as I stated before, if you were to look at billions of years into the future where Andromeda and the Milky Way collide, and
Yeah.
that's the only observable galaxy, no one will ever be able to go to any other galaxy, right? So that means that the arbitrariness of expansion would be from them, they'd say, no, we're expanding, right? So
When
when
you-
you
who's
when you're
expanding?
stating
What do you
when
mean,
you're
who's
when you're
expanding?
stating things are moving away, that's not true because things are moving towards us as well. Right?
Right. Right. Oh, so you're saying that because things are moving towards us, that's the level in which that negates the expansion.
Yeah, so the expansion, yeah, exactly. So the expansion itself is completely arbitrary.
Wait, so then can you explain redshift?
Yeah, so if you look at red shifting, and if I was to show you like two dots at nearly the same location with two hugely different brightnesses, what would you say to that?
Well, there's.
Would you say that
what,
that couldn't work?
what do you mean?
So if we're looking at how red shifting works, right? If we're looking at the
Right.
light of these stars,
Uh-huh.
and if we have a star, both stars very close to each other, yet there's a massive difference between the light, would that disprove red shifting?
Why? I don't see why.
What is red shifting?
Red shifting is where the wavelengths become where the wavelengths expand as something is moving away.
Yeah, so what is my critique there?
Whereas but you're saying you're attributing brightness to wavelength.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, brightness as just a form of explaining what red shifting is, right? You can say wavelength or whatever, right? Doesn't really matter. If I'm
Yeah, but the apparent brightness of a star, for example, isn't like determined on the wavelength that the star emits. It's only dependent on the luminosity of the star.
The luminosity meaning brightness.
No. Luminosity means the power emitted, the total power radiated.
Yeah, I know, but that power emitted is based upon brightness. When you observe it, if you were like studying red shifting, you'd be looking at the brightness of the thing itself. You
Hey,
can
Josh.
name it whatever you want.
I got a question. Do you think that if God is real, he created anything like us in Andromeda or like any of the other observable galaxies?
Well, I'll expand. Maybe I'll go. No, I don't know.
I don't know.
Also, Josh, do you think? What do you guys? If both of you are theists, do you guys think that life can exist outside of the solar system?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Is there any like reason why like the God wouldn't have mentioned it?
I mean, but like it may have been because like human contradiction. Like to me it's like humans translating it wrong. That's why I think
So
about
you-
like the
so then- so then
contradictions in the
if-
Bible. It's just human contradiction and error.
Wait, so then how do you, if you think that there are human contradictions within like religion, then how do you determine what is a contradiction and what's not a contradiction?
I literally have like stuff for this. So like anything that is like hateful or what was the other thing? crap. Hold up. I need to think about this. Give me a second.
Isn't that kind of like presupposing the characteristics of your God? And also,
Not
how,
really, but like
what do
the
you
entire
determine as
thing
hateful?
about the entire thing about the Bible is like love thy neighbor, everything.
Yeah, and also like
Forgiveness.
it gives rules on like slave. Yeah, that's in the New Testament in some parts, but then you also have like in the Old
I follow
Testament,
the
which
New
is meant
Testament
the
because
the same God in the Old Testament like condones slavery as well. So it's like
yeah. So I think that's just like a contradiction because also God gave us free
yeah. So
will.
wouldn't that just show
so,
that
like,
wouldn't that just show that
It
the
wouldn't be a
interpretation of the God is
contradiction.
incorrect?
No, it wouldn't be a contradiction. In the Old Testament, it's looking at utilitarianism, right? It's the first form of
yeah,
utilitarianism.
I don't like the Old Testament. The
So
Old Testament
no,
can
I think the Old Testament has brilliant advice. So, for example,
no. I mean, like I don't like
when you're
how
looking
it's
at
morals
Sodom
are
and
portrayed.
Gomorrah, Jay, do
Yeah.
you think Sodom and Gomorrah is just?
Well, what happened to them?
No. The society itself.
I'm not sure. The only thing which I'm not
Okay.
too.
If you don't know, here's a simple question: if you have a bag of apples, and there's a rotting apple in the bag, if you don't take that rotten apple out of the bag, will the other apples rot?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when we're looking, that's a very, very foundational form of utilitarianism.
Can you guys explain these to me?
So
I'm
to
really dumb.
make it really simple on the trolley problem, if there's 5 people and 1 person, I'm going to choose the 1 person to unalive, right? From a utilitarian perspective only.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
then if we're looking at Sodom and Gomorrah, right? When you're looking at like a real plague or like the same as a rotting apple, that they are so far gone that if I don't eliminate them, they're going to get rid of they're going to corrupt the rest of the world. Okay? Do you think that concept is bad inherently, or do you think there's merit to it?
Yeah, there is merit to it. Yeah.
Well, there you go. So then when you're looking
But where's
at
the
Old
merit?
Testament-
Where's the merit to the chattel slavery in Leviticus?
Yeah, so when you're looking at slavery within itself, right, we state that slavery is wrong, right?
Right.
Why do we state that?
Because it infringes on human autonomy.
Yeah,
What
and
do
it's
you-
also
and Jay,
wait.
hold
Can I
on a
say
second.
something?
What do you mean by
Can I also
slave?
say a reason why it's bad?
Sure.
It breaches our free will. So, yeah, which
Okay,
is what God gave
free,
us.
free will, sure, yeah. So could you tell me, Jay, what do you mean by slave?
Like,
A person owned by another.
Okay, so when we're looking at the modern world and we're looking at how our society works, would you say that slavery is a thing or not a thing?
Yeah,
of course it's a thing. Yeah, it's.
Well,
like,
no,
have
wait,
you
I'm
not seen
asking
like
Jake, 'cause
chocolate?
He's holding the
how
opposite
chocolate
position.
and cocoa are formed?
So you're saying yes. And to what degree do you stop it from being slavery? So for example, let's say you having a terrible job, right?
That's.
And
I mean, you
having
can
to
quit
pay
it though. So that's
taxes
not
and
slavery.
having to pay taxes on your house, and you don't have any consent
Live
for
abroad.
that. When you're born into that society, and you have to go by their rules. Would you say
Right.
that's a form of slavery?
Not
Right.
really.
So basically, you're
Because,
basically
like, you
just
could-
saying that,
oh,
like,
sorry.
Wait,
you're
hold on,
basically saying,
crowd.
like,
Hold on, crowd.
Because,
Let
like-
Jay speak.
Hold up. Can I take
So
this
Josh-
from a dumb person perspective?
wait, Crow.
You
Let me
could
just
always
answer.
run
So,
away, unless it's North Korea. That's slavery.
So, Josh, so basically, you're saying like within society, within like an economically like stable society, that slavery still is like alive and thriving because all it is it was just manipulated in a way to which it's where it's more subtle when it's being applied onto people.
Yeah, but
right.
the thing is, you could
Yeah,
still.
I don't
use the
agree that
place
I
to-
don't disagree that slavery doesn't exist.
Yeah.
The whole point is that it's to the context of how severe the slavery is. Like for example, in Leviticus, it talks about chattel slavery, right? Like the same slavery that was perpetrated on the transatlantic slave trade, where it states that like you can own and you can sell these non-Israelites people, and then you can inherit them for life to your children, and you choose when you want to let them go. For life to your children, and you choose when you want to let them go. And you can also 3 days post beating, then it's okay. Like these are like quite extreme like positions, no?
Yeah, so when you're looking at that position itself, right, the ownership, it depends on like how you want to like view things. So the transatlantic slave trade, a lot of African Americans talk about how like poorly they were treated.
Yeah.
Which is not true. If you were to actually look at how much a slave costs in America, go look at how many people could own slaves, right? And a lot of people don't actually know this, right? So you're looking at the top 1%.
Yeah, they cost a lot, but
No.
being...
Hold on a second. So you're looking at the top 1% of people. These slaves cost a lot of money, right? And you're telling
Not the top
me,
1%.
You're telling me that these people are somehow just going to starve them, their own asset, that they're just going to not like treat them horrendously until they're dead. You're saying that happened in the majority of the time?
Josh, sorry to interrupt, but it's not like, I don't think it's like 1%. Isn't it more like 0.1%? Like way higher.
It's more around 0.1%. But if, for example, if I have an asset, you're telling me I'm just going to treat it like dirt, and then I'm just going to like, it's meaningless to me. Is that correct?
Well, no, the whole point is that they treated them badly, but they just didn't unalive them because they needed to use them for work.
They use them. Wait, hold on a second. They use them for work, right? Did they not give them food?
Yeah, but they also whipped them.
Yeah, they whipped them. Sure.
Wait, what are we on right now?
They still fed them, and they did
explain this.
Okay, so the problem.
Yeah, but I think the notion of whipping is kind of counteract.
I understand, right? Whipping is obviously bad, right? But when you're looking at it in context of you now, right, you're condemned to be a slave to your capitalist society, right? You can't go away from that. You can try and pretend that you can move somewhere.
Physical or mental harm.
Hold on a second.
They did.
So when you're looking at the notion of, oh, I can run away, no, you can't, because all the land is owned, right? There's no free land.
Yes, I can. I've literally done this. I come from a communist country.
There's no free land.
Oh, tick. Hold up, y'all. How should I kill this tick real quick? It's slowly crawling up on me.
The whole point, Josh, is that even though there is modern slavery, right? The whole point is that the amount of mental and physical distress given to a slave is a slave within chattel slavery is a lot higher than one that's in in society now.
I would disagree with that.
How?
I think it really depends. You can look at the cobalt mines, right? These people do this as their job to get you cobalt so you can have electrical equipment, right? They are paid so poorly that they have to do this, right? This is the only job in their community. If they don't, they'll starve to death. Okay?
Right.
So that means that, and if you look at the conditions of these cobalt farms in the Congo, they're horrendous. Yet they're not specifically slaves because they're not owned, right? But they are slaves because the companies have taken advantage.
Yeah, that would just be indentured servitude. Yeah.
No, but it's not indentured servitude, right? Because technically they're not slaves; they're not owned. So do you understand? So when you're looking at like